I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. This time we'll have an invocation by Pastor Linda Sweezer. Pastor.
Let us bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father, we do thank you and we do praise you for this opportunity to come before these great men and women of God who are making crucial and critical decisions. We thank you that you said the earth is yours and the fullness thereof, the world and all they that dwell therein. So we thank you that you said wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all that getting, get understanding. So we come before you now with this great group who are coming together to make decisions that they've already made, decisions that they have to continue to make. We pray that your wisdom will abide. We pray that their decisions will be based upon those things that you're leading and guiding them to do that will be in the best interest and the best welfare of this community. We pray now, Lord, that you will cause this meeting to be a meeting of unity and harmony. We pray now that all the things that you so desire to happen in this time and this season, even in the midst of such a pandemic crisis, we thank you that our eyes are upon you. So we ask your blessings upon the faculty, the staff, the administrators, this whole area. We pray for parents and students. Lord, we pray for safety, for divine protection. We know that you can do it. So we thank you and we praise you for your anointing taking over and making decisions tonight and every day heretofore. And we ask it all now in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
In front of you is the agenda.
Make a motion we accept the agenda. Second.
We moved and properly second that we accept the agenda presented. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is adopted. Mr. Pratt.
Yes, board members, you have before you your minutes for our regularly scheduled board meeting on June the 25th and July 2nd, as well as July 14th. Are there any additions or deletions to those three sets of minutes? Seeing as none, I make a motion we accept the minutes as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We moved and properly second that we approve the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Mr. Superintendent, if I may I?
Always.
Address, please. Excuse me, sir.
Second hand vote.
And ma'am. Again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For some of you all who might not know, I was addressed, and only because I'm the president of the board, a letter from Mayor Flaggs. So with that, if you would allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to respectfully respond. First of all, Mr. Flaggs, I love you. But, Mr. Mayor, I'm very, very perplexed as to why you chose to give the newspaper this letter instead of giving it to me first to give a chance to read it. Now, there are several topics in here that you spoke about. And I'm only going to speak about one specifically that you gave to me. And I quote, it says, "The school districts of Claiborne, Clinton, and Hinds County are delaying their in-person reopening until early fall and are taking advantage of the viral learning." Well, with that, let me say that that is not factual. And I ask that as I give you this information tonight, please fact check me. And if I'm wrong, when you see me in the grocery store, you can tell me and show me where I'm wrong. He mentioned that Clinton, now this letter was dated July 29, 2020. And I was wondering how could he get the information when Clinton had a special call board meeting July 30th at 11:30 today. Maybe he's the mayor of Clinton. I don't know. But the safety of our students continues to be our top priority. As they held that special call meeting today, they said that they were going to have what they call K through 6. We'll go Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday. Wednesday would be the teachers, what do y'all call it? Where the teachers go in and do whatever they have to do. But they're going to start on the 10th, August the 10th. We voted, and I'm gonna have to put this gorilla on my back, and I know some people don't want me to do this, but when we voted, it didn't spike at the time. And I'm gonna talk about communications later, and it is my fault, in my opinion, that the communication was not given to where everyone understood it. I'm going to give you several things here I want to talk about, and that's effective communication, a medical opinion, the school visits that I have visited, choice, again, safety, and faith. As I talk about communications, the effective communications that I did not, once we voted on to have in school and virtual, for some reason, people thought we said everybody had to come back to school. And that is not what we said. If every student, and correct me when I go wrong, Mr. Superintendent.
Sure.
If every student in this district wants to go virtual, they can do it. If we were in school, they could do it today.
Correct.
Correct? So it is a choice that you have to either bring them to school, let the bus bring them to school, but we have given you a choice that most schools don't have a choice to do. We even, with virtual, some schools are not letting their athletes participate. We are allowing our athletes to participate, whether it is virtual or whether it's in school. So please remember, if you want virtual schooling, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, you can have virtual, or the kids can come to school. And you can bring your kids to school. If you decide in the middle of the week that you don't want them to do it anymore, you can start going virtual. So there's no penalty to you because it's going to be 180 days of schooling. Period, amen.
Amen.
It appears we're going to have our tests this year.
That's the rumor.
So I just want you to understand that the effective communication has been put on me. And I apologize for those who got it wrong and it wasn't explained to the fullest. So I hope you understand the effective communications. On the medical side, the state health officer, Dr. Thomas Dobbs, in his words, he said, if we delay school opening for a couple of weeks, it doesn't mean things are going to get better. It's probably going to be bad for a long time. When you go for surgery, you don't come to Jim Sturgis because I'm not a medical doctor. So we should trust what the medical persons tell us. On the safety side, the PPEs are here, correct, sir?
Correct.
And we're ready to give, I think, 5
Cloth mask to every student.
and
adults.
the shields.
And the shields for the adults.
They're all here. So had they not been here, I would have asked for a delay
And I would have
with
too.
my one vote.
Sure.
But they are here, and just to tell you the schools, I've gone to all schools, and from what I saw, and I'm hoping there is a different wording later on when Mr. Bailey comes up. Yes, are there problems in the schools from what I saw? It is. So I'm hoping that there is a change, and it will be to where the safety for the kids is what we're asking he and his crew to do. But you have a choice, and I'll say it again. You have a choice. You can stay at home, your kids, or they can come to school. It is your choice to do that. We have given you that option. So yes, there is virtual learning at the Vicksburg Warren School District. Period. Amen. And lastly, I'll say this. Faith. And we all know what faith is. It's unquestioning beliefs that does not require proof or evidence. Again, if you see me on the streets, call my daddy, he'll give you my telephone number. And call me on my phone, or wherever you see me and you want to ask any questions, please feel free. But I hope if you get anything out of what I just said, you do have a choice. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Superintendent?
Well, you stole a whole bunch of stuff I was going to say, and that's okay. Just in clear transparency, I was contacted by one of the members of the supervisors, and Jeff Holland expressed that he felt that there was a spike. He wanted us to be aware of that, wanted to make sure that we were considering all information. And of course, I assured him that there had been hundreds and hundreds of hours of planning. And even though we came up with a plan, that plan is flexible as it needs to be adjusted due to whatever that circumstance would be there, and that y'all would be discussing that and have an opportunity to discuss among yourselves any questions you had or any data or anything at this board meeting. In addition to that, I did talk to Mayor Flaggs a couple of times, and I did receive this letter. There was a couple of things in here that I just from a transparency perspective, because I wanted to know, because these districts were listed in this letter, specifically what they were doing different than us. And Claiborne County actually got their solution from us. So they did have a delay in start, but they had a roof issue at their high school, was the reason they had to push their date back. But their original start date was the Monday that's after the Friday of what our original start date was. Because when I got to looking at their plan, and when I talked to the superintendent there, I said, boy, that looks familiar. She said, where do you think we got it? So they are actually using the same exact, they're using grade results also. So the virtual solution for them is the exact one that we're using. I talked to Hinds County because they were also listed in this letter. Their date hasn't changed. It's the 10th. And that 10th is the Monday after the Friday of the weekend. Their faculty is actually coming back. And what they moved their date for, it was originally set for the 6th. They moved it to the 10th and because they are handing out their devices. And they wanted the parents to come in and pick those up. They needed more time to prepare for the transfer of their virtual option. They are also doing a virtual in-face. They are also offering both of those opportunities. They have a different solution than us, but in essence, different solution, same sort of model there. And then Clinton, I did follow up with them, and they did have an adjustment. They will be having full, their original plan had dates in there, and they didn't shift those dates for start, but what they do have is they will do a virtual with their 7 through 12 and a in-face instruction with their K through 6 that will be present at those original times that they had. So just in conversation with y'all, I wanted to make sure that, you know, since they were in this letter, that we weren't out of line with what other districts are doing. And Briggs, he has the privilege of serving on multiple school boards and seeing a lot of different plans. And in speaking with him this week, he gave us a strong vote of confidence on the solution that our district has chosen for that. In the changes of dates, I wanted to make sure I had any variable answered if y'all had any questions. So at this time, I'd just like to give y'all the opportunity to ask anything you needed or express any concerns or anything you'd like for us to address.
So, Superintendent, on the issue that we voted on, that was before we had any spike. And my concern for our district is that the children with illness that they have, diabetes, whatever, asthma, and that, you know, what I would love to see is that, you know, virtual until we see what this thing is going to do. I'm scared if it continues to spike, it's going to spread into the community. I'm not so worried about the children as much as I'm worried about what they're going to bring home and what they're going to bring back into the building. And it just reading and watching it, we're a hotspot. So we're right at the hotspot. And I assume between now and probably Monday, we'll be a hotspot if it's continuing, as I watch it continue to rise. And that we have all the equipment to virtual. We have it, we are ahead of the game. We've been working, in other words, we've been stockpiling all the time. So it's no problem for us to do that right now and see where it's going. I don't, to rush into something of kids' lives, and that's what we're here for. And then the teachers got underlined. We got some teachers that have situations that warrants the effectiveness of what's getting ready to happen. And I visited our junior high, Warren Central, and Vicksburg. And from the time we've been out to now, I'm not satisfied with the building where they're working. The new part, awesome. But we still have places shut off, wires coming out. It's just not, to me, what we're capable of being right now. And I don't see, right now with that, I don't see the rush that we have to do. I want our kids in school. If we have to slow down for a second to see how this thing gonna go, And as Mr. Sturgis said, we have this, you have the opportunity, you can, after that, hey, you wanna FaceTime, fine, we'll do whatever you wanna do, we can do it. But, this is what my concern.
Sure.
My concern with if we choose to go totally virtual is with kids that are in VOTEC or kids that are dual enrolled.
That would go
Hines
away.
is not, and they will lose that.
That's correct.
So we have a group of children that will lose what they've been working their high school for. They'll lose their associate's degree, they won't graduate on time, they'll lose their time in VOTEC. And I think we have to look beyond, the opportunities there to stay home or to send your child to school. And if the kids in that are doing VOTEC and dual credit are not gonna get their hours, then we're shortchanging children in their education.
Yeah, and as that was really one of the things that we started exploring is talking about time frames. And when we talk to Hines, of course, we have students that are in real college courses, like legitimate college courses. Their start date is the 17th. So that put us in a situation where dual credit would no longer be available, and those, especially River City early college kids, would not have the opportunity to graduate with associate's degrees at that point because we can't offer those online because Hines is a different entity, and we have to follow whatever model they have as part of that memorandum. In addition, I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200 students at Warren Central, about 150 at Vicksburg who were signed up for academic dual credit. Last year we had 5,000.
So we're looking, so in those numbers, you're looking at about 400 or 500 kids that would be affected if we chose
Sure.
to go totally virtual.
And for a period of time, and in that time frame, that August the 17th was the drop dead date on that. So we did. That was one of the things that we did uncover. We actually had a meeting. We brought socially distance appropriate number of people into meet, and we went around the room and tried to figure out if this was a solution that we moved to, if we postponed any dates or if we did any virtual, what would be the outcome, or how would this harm any student in any way. And that was a pretty big glaring deficit, was the omission of that. Now, with that being said, understanding that would also significantly affect the accountability model if it stands the way it currently is. And y'all know me well enough to know that doesn't drive me at all, but I wanted you to be prepared to understand that impact from a district standpoint.
Would it impact employment as far as teachers' aides
Yeah.
or teachers that are considered permanent subs? Would they lose their jobs?
I will say this, contracted employees are paid different than hourly employees, so any of those employees, if a bus doesn't run, a bus driver doesn't get paid. So you're talking about significant changes in some of our employees' earnings would definitely be part of that. The essential employees that were tied to the instructional side, even if we went virtual, obviously we could work inside those confounds. But that was also one of the things that, and Mr. Bass was a part of that meeting, and Chiquita was too, because there's different requirements. The way that public money is spent, you can't expend public funds to anything for services that haven't been rendered. And when you're an hourly employee, it's very clear that you only get paid for the time worked.
So, can I say something? So I think.
Sure. This is y'all's time.
Yeah, this decision we're making is probably one of the hardest things. I think all of y'all would agree. This is probably, we thought we'd had some hard decisions in the past.
No doubt.
But this is probably one of the hardest decisions. I have never read so many CDC guidelines or watched more videos or read more material on what's right for children. The CDC, the latest release on
23rd.
23rd,
And it's
reopening
excellent, by the
schools,
way.
the importance of reopening schools states that schools provide a critical service that helps meet the needs of children, families, especially those that are disadvantaged, through supporting the development of social and emotional skills, creating safe environments for learning, identifying and addressing neglect and abuse, fulfilling nutrition needs, facilitating physical activity. School closures disrupt the delivery of in-person instruction and critical services to children and families, which has a negative individual and social ramifications. This is evident throughout the country. It also goes to say that this is even more prevalent in districts of poverty. Poverty children are affected by this more. We've given the best of both worlds to allow them to have an option. So, Coach, those students who do have health issues, I would hope that they are able to take advantage of the virtual option, which is no different than if we went totally virtual. They would be taking advantage of the virtual option. So nothing stops them, by giving two options, nothing stops them from being able to do that. What it also does is, can you quote the numbers? We're significantly lower in the numbers of children that will come for in-person.
Yeah, the new numbers, and I've got this form in
This right
front of
here.
y'all just to keep up. The new numbers show a majority of our students would be at home at this point. It has it, and at July 14th, it was about 50-50. On July the 30th, it's 42-42 with 5%. Again, they didn't really give us a solid answer what they wanted.
So we're drastically, in most cases, I know it varies by school, some might have a higher percentage of students going than others.
Sure.
But we're reducing the load of students in a building, which will help with the fact that we have construction going on. It will help with
Sure.
social distancing.
Sure.
And, I just think that we're giving parents the option. We're lucky and fortunate enough that our administrators and staff, your staff, has helped us get our district into a place to where we have technology in place and the resources to offer this. I think if you look at a lot of these districts that are postponing, they're postponing because they're not prepared.
Yeah.
We although I will say that, there will be stumbles as we go along through this. I do think that you indicated that there is some grade results training.
Yes, we've
Staff
been
development,
doing
additional training for our teachers. I think that was
correct.
one of the concerns,
Yep.
to make sure they're up to speed. I think you also had mentioned with grade results, and correct me if I'm wrong, but grade results also has the option, in addition to our teacher that's assigned to that student in a class, that if a student reaches a roadblock while they're receiving instruction through grade results, that they can ask for help.
That's correct.
From a board-certified teacher in the state of Mississippi.
That's correct.
Won't be their regular teacher, but they also have the option to have reached back to their physical teacher that is in our district.
They will still be a part of the Google Classroom, just like every other kid in the classroom.
So it's terrorists either way. I'm also read the numbers related to suicide, all the other negative impacts of these students staying at home and not being able to, deal with these issues or receive services. We provide a lot of social services to our students. A lot of child abuse or neglect is noticed in schools. So I mean, you could argue either way. To me, the data is there that that we probably need to let our parents make the choice of what's best for their child, and we are here to support them in whatever decision they make.
Any other?
Yeah, I've got just a couple of things. So, like Brian said, this is the toughest thing that we've had to face, and it's we've got a lot of little eyes looking up at us, and I think that we need to collectively give them the option that's best for them, of course, which you have done. I have two concerns. In speaking to teachers in the district, the majority of those teachers are saying the grade results the grade results package that was given to them in March was like a novice deal, and they want the expert deal.
That's right.
All right, so if we had to delay, there's two reasons I'll vote to delay. One would be to train the teachers to get them to the level to where if we do have to go totally virtual, they're wide open and ready. The second would be the construction issue. If these schools are not ready for these kids to be there, we shouldn't put them in there.
Sure.
And, I'm more concerned with the fact that you're going to have older people, construction workers, and in those rooms with the, not in the rooms, but in the facility on campus with them. And there's got to be some commingle at some time. I don't know when that's going to be, and hopefully it will never be. But that commingle needs to be addressed, and those things need to be kind of looked at. And if those are going to be older folks, you're going to have 30, 40, 50-year-old men generally that are going to be out there in the face of our children and our teachers. And I don't know the answer to that, but I'm just saying that, you know, I'm all for doing what the board wants to do. Those are my two concerns, is that the teachers are not quite ready to go totally virtual. And the teachers are ready, they just don't have what they need to do it.
Yeah, and I'll address the training. We actually have PD in multiple forms that'll be rolling on. Of course, we can't train anybody until their contract starts, so we don't have any teachers back at this point. But we do have, and we have done it with our lead teachers and administrators that are on contract. Got great feedback from that PD. Matter of fact, one of the teachers contacted me that their principal was so excited due to the fact of the options it's going to provide for us. Openly, we admit that in March we cut the lights on an opportunity that we had. There were people who were trained in our district who were experts on it, but not everyone. But that is part of that training. As soon as the teachers come back, that's part of their PD. In addition to the PD that rolls out for the PPEs, so that they can be trained on what their responsibilities are there. And we've got 4 stages of that. We've got embedded videos. We've got, as a matter of fact, but the 23rd release that Brian was talking about, we're pulling content that was, we just got from that to fold back into that. In addition, we have it in the CNI app for the kids, and it's scheduled to roll out to them also, and those will be available for everyone. Of course, and I know multiples of you have said they wanted to make sure we had our staff appropriately trained. We have 4 days scheduled before the arrival of students for that to occur. We are not doing a convocation publicly this year, so that day we will not be taking them from their building, so that'll be extra time that they can do that. Now the construction, and he'll tell you I rolled him over and over and over and over about that same exact issue. And of course, Coach, we want to make sure that I'm not going to open school or recommend, because quite frankly, at this point, y'all approved the calendar and y'all approved the plan, so it would be up to y'all. I don't even have the authority to do anything. So if y'all decide that, then of course we'll adjust to whatever the pleasure of the board is. But in that, we have been assured that every single one of those properties will be safe, secured. They will be completed based on the progress that is supposed to be completed. Now, obviously, we all know that this project is a 2-year project and it won't be completed until the end of the summer next year. But what was supposed to have been completed that we approved is on schedule to be completed. So if we want to, and I don't know if they have an agenda item that's different, but if y'all have direct questions for him on construction.
Why don't we have him give his update? Can we jump
around? However y'all want to do it, doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, he's next on the agenda.
Let's just have him give his update, and we may come back to this topic.
The other, were there any other concerns? Because I wanted to, one of the other, and of course Preston is best athletic director in the state, nation. He has done a lion's share of work from getting information from the Mississippi High School Athletic Association. They're very specific on particular dates, and if we breach those times, our first game is Vicksburg and Warren Central, and just in complete transparency, the High School Athletic Association has not finalized what a crowd would look like for a football game yet, and we do have a jamboree / scrimmage that Vicksburg High School is having with, thank y'all very much, Hazelhurst. So just understand if there's any schedule adjustments, the Mississippi High School Athletic Association, 4 districts that have done this have just shaved those games off. And that would be obviously something I would want y'all to be aware of, and depending on the date we chose, what that would look like, because there are requirements for conditioning and for all the students in that.
So that explains, we had several questions also related to season tickets.
Yep.
Because of what you're telling us now that has not been finalized.
That's correct.
We cannot determine how or what or if or.
Yeah, and I'll tell you some of the solutions that we're considering are going to look like, maybe you have. I hate to even say any of these out loud, but there's a lot of solutions that are floating around, and we actually, Briggs and I had a long discussion about this too, amongst the other long discussions we've had about all this, the activities that include band, that include more than just sports per se, are under that purview for the Mississippi High School Athletic, and we're really waiting for them to give some common guidance on that so that we can make sure that because we will play other communities too. That's what makes that a little bit different. So whether they say everybody's going to give X number to the opposite team, and then you have a stadium capacity division or families, or however it hashes out. But I promise the moment I know or we move forward with any thing like that, we'll make you completely aware.
Before Mr. Bailey, on the athletics, on my 40 years of athletics, to sit here and talk about a football game is unreal. It's really unreal. I mean, football is a contact sport.
Sure.
I'm going to go in somebody's locker room, and somebody's going to come in my locker room.
Sure.
And we don't know where we'll wind up in bringing back or taking to.
Sure.
It boggles my mind to listen to coaches. I mean, people that know athletics. If you're gonna do it, then let them know the risk of doing it.
That's right.
This is not a cakewalk. This is death we're talking about. And if I can see the Marlins with 17, and those are millionaires, and you can't protect them.
Sure.
And then you talk about a country kid ripping and running, going home, and grandmama going home. It's just, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we put the carriage before we do the horse.
Sure.
It's unreal out there, yo. One of my coaches, I don't know Mr. Bill take, he said, Coach, is only two type. There's two people that's guaranteed every game to either have that virus, and that's that running back and that tackle, because that's contact. I mean, it has to be on top of each other, breathing on each other, and then going into the locker room and fat,
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's what we got.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with any of that. I'm just merely making y'all aware of where we sit with the decisions that you have. The other thing before Gary talks, we have a couple really, one's incredibly comprehensive, and I appreciate the effort that has gone into the CDC website. It has been enlightening. It came out on the 23rd with the updates, and it is very data-driven and specific. It even has a rubric for the individual students who should have masks and the ones who shouldn't. It has rubrics for the ages of kids it's appropriate and the ones that aren't. And it tells you very specifically, and I mentioned this and I don't have any problem because he lives in my home. My son is one of those qualifiers who is unable to do that and should not do that based on the CDC's recommendation. And when you start talking about the guessing we've had to do, and shamefully, and I said this to Briggs, there's a lot of decisions that you as this board should have never been forced to make. Those should have been health professional organizations that said, and other states are handling this different. Our students, our teachers, our staff, we're having to do responsibilities that are not what we should have to do, but that's based on the freedom we've been given to make these choices, and that's the way it's been sold. So with that, just understand that this every decision we make in this time frame is heavily weighed on all of our hearts there, and not even in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. I'm talking about a week's worth of no sleep kind of way, digging in data at a level that I've only done in other cases. But that CDC site is incredible. And I encourage, we're going to embed all of the videos that we found, all of the resources, the legitimate opinions that are there that are based on medical professionals and research, and it's there. It's beautiful. Now, we also got a document from the Mississippi Health Department, and some of the questions that we had, I talked to Briggs, and he actually called Dr. Dobbs to work out some of the questions that we had with these, and they have 3 documents, which I think 2, maybe even 3 of y'all at the last special call board meeting cited that you wanted a here's your risk document and a document that was handed to someone who has been diagnosed or documented with a positive COVID case, and those are in there and they're recommended. And we're working through those to make them specific to our district. And then there is a large conversation around, and Coach, you mentioned it, this close proximity, this within 6 feet where you can't social distance. Now, whether it's with or without a mask, it has to be at 15 minutes of exposure under 6 feet to qualify within these requirements. But we are doing contact tracing. We are, and I will say this, a lot of the things that we have in place are well above and beyond anything I saw in the CDC requirements. There are no screening requirements that I could find in there as recommended to school districts. And I mentioned to you that even Nashville's not doing those. And you have a lot of districts that are doing that. That's an added precaution to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to keep our kids safe, because quite frankly, they're our most important concern also.
How many districts have the quarantine room?
I would think all. Now, I can't give a definite answer, but I think that's one of the things that's going to be standard that you'll find, because once you've identified, you have to have a way to allow those students to quarantine in that area. We're doing added precautions in there. We have a purification machine that is in there to make sure that it cycles that air, anything that's in there. We have the mandatory masks, the 6 feet apart, the added temperature. So if you have a head thermometer check that says you're at 100.4, you immediately go to that room, and then we have a follow-up mouth thermometer with the sleeve that's been cleaned and disinfected, and then those students will then be, temperature will be taken again there. And again, those are added precautions that I couldn't find in the CDC requirements or recommendations. None of these are requirements. But so the third item, and this is one of the things that is a little bit different, and I'll bring this to you once we get it fixed. I want to make sure that what we've approved in our plan reflects in the documents that we're handing people. But the other is instructions for individuals with the COVID is one. You got notification for close contacts. That's the document we want to make sure that we have very clean. And then, of course, we have one we're given to all parents, so that they understand if they make the decision and they make the choice to have their students with us, then these are the risks. I'll say this, and y'all know, I'm trying my dead level best to make the best decisions, because this is real personal for me. I had 2 individuals that live in my household that I love more than life. I would never put them in a situation that I didn't feel we had done our absolute dead level best to try to create a lesser risk opportunity to attend school. And that's what I feel like we've done. Now whether we do that on the 7th, the 10th, the 15th, the 21st, the December, the solution that we have for safety of students that will be on our campus is solid as it relates to the medical profession and what they have recommended. I will tell you this, what we're going to be doing for our students inside the school district is going to be much more than you'll see in most of your churches, most of the, and and I'm going to stay away from restaurants because I got the evil eye last time. But when you talk about the kids being with us and supervised and having PPEs and being social distance, they're not doing that at the pools. They're not doing that in these places where they are staying when they're not with us. And I would be remiss, not that this is I'm not trying to sway anybody for any particular reason, but understand that there are social emotional issues, suicide, there has been a rise in severe abuse cases in our hospitals since this quarantine has taken place. Some children, hopefully not in our community, but every other community I've ever worked, live in nightmares and never have an opportunity for the number one identifier for child abuse
It's a teacher.
is teachers. And when we don't have access to them, oftentimes these kids never have a reprieve. So there's a risk on both sides. I will say, you read one document or one research article, it says, one thing, you read another one, it says something else. And I don't know that there's ever been anything in my lifetime that there's more information about. And then you have, of course, this other wonderful entity that we're so privileged to have in existence, and that's social media. And everyone places their opinions out there, whether they're validated or not, which really confuses a lot of people on what the actual facts are. So with all that being said, just understand, my purpose is, I knew several of you had concerns. I wanted you to be able to voice any of those concerns, and if you choose, or y'all choose to make anything any different than you've already chosen to do, then we will adjust the plans to do whatever. But we are ready and of course I'm gonna let him answer all the construction questions, but we're ready to execute the plan on the 7th or any other date you pick.
One question on Sue. Have our team talked about the enemy, our COVID man for Warren County?
We invited the Department of Health to that initial meeting. Now, we did have a representative there, but it wasn't him. We did have John Elfer there. And of course that was a smaller team at the time. Now, as we put this plan together, and I think, that's something substantial to note, that we put this out to our parents, teachers, and students before we did anything. Everyone was given an opportunity to have a voice, and a huge portion did. There were thousands of comments and plans and suggestions and concerns that were listed, and we had 59,000 ratings on those. That's where it came from. This wasn't something Chad thought of. We went to our community and our parents and my teachers. I mean, they're incredibly important. I met with my administrative 98 people with counselors and some lead teachers and career coaches and assistant principals and principals yesterday, and I told them flat out of my mouth, the most important employee in our organization are teachers. And I want them to feel safe. I want them to understand that we have gone the extra mile in the cleaning that we're going to be doing. The matter of fact, the one we had in place was over the top before this came along, because we understand that we have students that could potentially die from flu, and influenza was the reason that we increased our opportunities then. So our contract is embedded with these opportunities. So, moving forward, and the cleaning company, ABM, made the statement, out of the 31 contracts they have, they've never seen one that was more comprehensive than the one we had. So that's because we got a great board that loves kids. We got a superintendent with children that live in his home here. So I'm not taking this lightly at all. And coming in here, y'all know as well as I do that I'm your employee, and I do what you want me to do, and I trust you have the children in this community as your most important asset and concern. So safety has always been a part of that. We're an educational entity. We want to have the best solution for that. And in a comprehensive way, we tried to get all the information we could to be able to come back and answer any of the questions you might have.
So, Mr. President, so at the end, Mr. Bailey, would it be appropriate to have a vote at the end?
Yeah, Coach, I think if Mr. Bailey's just going to answer a question, y'all can stay on item E2, and you certainly have a prerogative, anybody, to make a motion. If you want him to do a project, go ahead and do his project update and the actions, then you can do that, and then you can move to return back to E2 for purposes of making a motion, if you like, either way. So do you want him just to answer the question about safety in the schools, or do y'all want the full update now?
I want y'all to get, I would prefer you get the full update, and if y'all have any individual questions, because I've asked them to go building per building. And if there's any bears in the shadows, I need to know them today. If there's any things that aren't going to be complete, if there's any problems with the progress, we need to know it right now so that my board has the most information they need to make the decision they need. So, without further ado, the floor is yours, Gary.
Did you get that fixed before this?
I don't know.
Jason, fix that.
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Let me make a couple general comments, and then Jason will walk you through every school site and talk about specific issues related to safety, related to completion, or anything else related that's critical. We're not going to go down minutia lane and go down rabbit trails. Let me tell you, number one, it's great to be back here.
Yeah.
We are glad to have you.
I
know you are.
Y'all are still the best school district in the state, and it's just a pleasure to be in front of you. And I've been in many of your buildings, but y'all know that Jason and Mark are there just about every day.
Sure.
And when we started this process a couple of years ago, we told you all it was going to be the most complex things you've ever seen from an operational point of view, and it has been true. These are the most complex projects in the state of Mississippi in school districts, right here in Vicksburg Warren School District. You're doing more than anybody else is doing at one common time, and you're doing it wonderfully. Your administrators have been patient, to the most part. Bill has been extraordinary. David and Chad have been just way beyond what is required of good leadership. It takes that whole team to make this happen. And I'll tell you that because we knew what we were getting into, and we got into it. And it's complex, but it's also a series of contracts, Counselor, that this district has with contractors that they've got to do their job. And it's not always pretty, because sometimes we have to be very strong and firm with them of what they are obligated to do. I'll also tell you that COVID changed not just your district, but every single district in this state.
Sure.
And the actions that you're taking are really revolutionary and wonderful for children. But I'll also tell you, it's changed construction big time. Many of these contractors have gone beyond the call of duty when they've had subcontractors and suppliers that have backed out of contracts because of COVID. And they could have cried and they could have whined and said, we can't meet our deadline. Not a one of them has done that yet. And we've had some serious conversations, but nobody has backed up and said, we can't do it. And that's because of the team effort to get it done. And that's just ignoring little contract stuff that we could fight about with them all day long. That it takes a team effort to get it done. The other comment I'll make in general is that we all knew we were going to be going to school while construction takes place.
That's right.
And it was going to be complex, and it has been complex, but it's worked. Prior to COVID, we were having school every day. And there was contractors all around us, and they were doing the things they were supposed to do most of the time. And they got the hand slapped occasionally, but everybody was doing their job. Your principals bent over backwards to make things work. They are still doing that. It's going to continue like that for another year. Some of these schools will be through in December, but just to remind you that it's going to continue to happen. And the other general comment I will tell you is that if you choose to have kids in these schools next week, the buildings will be ready. They will not be perfect. They weren't perfect in February, but they will be.
They weren't perfect 2 years ago, Gary.
Well, we've improved them a lot, but it's still a construction zone, almost every single one of them. And to do that, meaning there's going to be things that we're not happy with. There'll be places we don't have floor tile down, but floor tile does not limit you from teaching kids.
But it will be safe.
It'll be safe, and that's the thing I want to go overboard with, is that we talk to every contractor, we talk to every administrator in your schools, is that safety is the number one thing we do, and they have to pay attention to that every single day, and people get fired who do not do that. So I'm telling you that your schools will be ready. Will they be fun? No, there's still going to be places where they're inconvenient and people are moving, sometimes week to week, to accommodate construction, but that's the only way some of these will be done. There are some that are more complex than others. God bless, we knew Beaumar was going to be a pain when we started it. Well, it is. It's a complex project. And there's a lot going on there. These two high schools are the most complex schools I've ever done in my career. And they're being done wonderfully. And they're being done at a high level of quality. Some of them may be behind in a few places, but safety has got to stay paramount. And tell you that it will be, if you choose to have kids in school next week, the schools will be ready to hold them. If you choose not to, that's your decision. We'll accommodate accordingly. But actually, COVID has given us a blessing in many ways, because we've been working in places we otherwise would not be working until next summer. So construction schedules have been blessed in many cases because of the inconveniences we've all had to deal with. My closing, and I'll let Jason talk for a while, is that students and education are the only thing that matters in our firm. It's the only thing that matters in these contracts. If we're not serving them, none of us have done our job. we're gonna do our job and we're gonna make sure those kids are learning. That's- He's gonna walk through each one. We're not gonna read this to you, I promise.
Let me take this off so I don't sound muffled. You've got the handout in front of you again. Stop me, ask any questions you have. We'll start at Vicksburg High School. As you're aware, what we call the front building, the new addition, it is fairly complete. We will not have VCT and what we call the main entry with the Agora there, but you'll see a clean transition, concrete ramp poured with a connecting corridor basically from the new building to the existing building. It will be a covered protected walkway that will keep kids away from a school zone. So Mark and Richard Horton with Thrash have been working with Dr. Davis about what room she is going to take. She is not going to use 100% of that building, especially some of the existing buildings. So she is, I believe she's going to take the south half of the third and fourth floors, and then the north half will still be under construction, and then we'll do some swap over at some point.
All of that we planned originally.
Yes. Moving on down, let me back up. You will have, your entry drives will be cleaned, swept. They will be ready to go for buses and cars, however Dr. Davis chooses to run those. So they will be ready. And I'll just make a general note as you look at all this. Friday seems to be the contractor deadline. Some of it self-imposed, some of it Mark and I imposed. Bomar actually started today, but you're starting to see contractors just draw a line in the sand with their subs and say, no more new work. We're not adding, if you've got ceiling grid in here, no tile, we're stopping, we're cleaning, we're preparing. And this weekend is a big push because obviously teachers and faculty will be coming back Monday. So that's kind of general what you're going through there. Thrash has got a little bit of work you'll see them doing Saturday, but for the most part, they're in cleaning and prep mode. So moving down to athletics phase 2, Gary and I always say we're going to tell you the truth. And throughout this entire bond issue, we're ahead in places and behind in places. But there's a potential issue with these athletics on the track. And I want to tell you what that is right now so you know about it. As you know, we had Probity involved with the first phase, and they poured the asphalt and did not do the athletic running surface. We chose to hold off on that so we could build the new bleachers and protect that material. Well, in doing that, the plan was for the contractor, there was and Preston knows the details a lot more than I do, but they need about 3 weeks per school to do it. And there was the way it was going to overlap with
To do the track.
Yeah, to do the track running surface. So in September, October, the way the schedule was going to work out with either away games or off weekends, that they were going to have the window to be able to do that. Well, with the water leak with the city, obviously it delayed the bleachers at Vicksburg High School. And to where we don't have that to the point that Vicksburg now is going to be playing some at Warren Central. That window of 3 to 4 or 5 weeks that we need to do both schools is gone. So we are working with the track is Binion, the supplier, to maybe get Vicksburg High School in if we can get the second set of bleachers poured by August 27th, and then come back and potentially look at early spring, late winter, early spring. They need nighttime temperatures above 60 to potentially come back and do Warren Central. But I will tell you this, Chad was bragging on a while ago, Preston's got it under control as far as options. It's not going to make everyone happy, but the goal was to have both up and running, but our goal at the utmost minimum is to have a track, a Vicksburg Warren School District track to where you can run track, and hopefully that'll be Vicksburg High School.
So you said you'd wait till spring to do one. Why would you, why couldn't you just wait to start immediately after the football season's over? I mean,
The
Temperature.
Temperature and
It's
soccer.
gotta be at 60.
And they've
Below
got
has to be above
provisions to move
60.
soccer, but it's temperature.
I don't know where y'all have been. but
Preston said the same thing.
80 degrees and Christmas Day.
I'm
That's
just
right.
saying, I don't think that's going to
We've got to have it
We got it for 3 weeks.
for about 16 days is what
I
it
don't
takes.
think that's
16
gonna be a
consecutive
problem.
days.
Trust me.
So, but that's exactly where we are with athletics phase 1. That is the last piece of the pie. And then the other thing with athletics phase 1 is Vicksburg's baseball field. We've got some rework to do out there, which is going to require some regrassing, which is fine, not a big deal, except for the fact Briggs and I have been talking and working with the city about easements and getting a water line over there to service it. Preston and the guys and the contractor can put grass on it today, but there's not a water line over there to irrigate it. So that is something, maybe a special board meeting, maybe next month, but we're diligently trying to get cooperation over there. And the flip side is the cities, we're asking them to do a million things for you guys right now. And for the most part, they've done it, and this is going to be another element.
Never mind. Next.
All right,
Any questions on Vicksburg High School?
for athletics phase one, or Vicksburg, the building.
Have you seen the scoreboard at Vicksburg High School?
Yes. See a familiar name on it.
Well,
It looks wonderful.
yep.
So you're gonna be ready, because our teachers are coming back on Monday.
Monday.
Monday morning, we walk through those buildings, they're gonna be the way they would if students were in them. Are you still working next week to get?
There will be some cleaning and prepping going on. We'll be helping them move furniture if they need to, getting their room set up. There are some things in the Agora main building that Dr. Davis is waiting on the teachers to come back. It's some of their boxes.
Some of their stuff, I saw their
Yes,
stuff.
that's correct. So some of that stuff will be moved. The contractors will be there normal business hours with the teachers.
It'll be a team effort next
That's
week.
right.
Can we go looking again next week, please?
Absolutely.
You can go anytime. Look, I go all the time. You hop in the car with me, any of you can. If you haven't been there and you want to,
Yep.
touch base with me, I'll come pick you up, we'll run you through. You can look if you got 30 minutes or 2 hours.
Yep.
Okay.
We have also instructed the contractors, and they've taken most of this upon themselves. Their superintendent and site supervision will be there full-time throughout the day, especially when school starts back that first week, maybe 10 days. That way, if air conditioner doesn't work, whatever it may be, that the superintendent will be there and be able to address it. But once kids come back, contractors are back to their nights and weekends, and then sanitized cleaning before kids come back and those things. So, yep, athletics phase two, I hope you guys are seeing some progress there. Some of it is hidden. Basically, about the only thing you can see visibly going on with Vicksburg Athletics Phase 2 is the scoreboard at the football field, the bleachers, and then it looks like everything else is stopped. But if you go inside the softball facility, they've got ductwork ran light. I mean, it is not far from being ready to finishing close with plywood in there. Warren Central Athletics obviously didn't have to deal with a city water leak. They are near completion. They've asked for a substantial punch list. Mark has written that, and they are in the process of working that off and making sure we have red Vikings and not orange.
Jason,
Correct.
Yes, sir.
on that, how do we come out with the water that you was running it to? Because, trying to find out where it was coming from.
Oh,
Out of
yeah.
Warren
The
Central.
Warren Central.
The water is coming from up the hill. And as a fact, it's not coming from anything the district controls. It is not impeding construction, but it's something we need to have further conversations with an adjacent property owner. You're not the source of it. And there's nobody up there living. I'm just telling you, we know where the water's coming from, and it's still an effort in progress.
Is that the loan property?
It's
Yes.
just back behind the stadium.
Yeah, so we
They had
found a crushed
oh, yeah.
pipe.
Go ahead.
And we had a contractor and engineer there, and they investigated that pipe, and that pipe ran back to a roof leader, which is a downspout. And that water that was not producing chlorine or fecal matter, that was run, rainwater, which was the problem with where we were getting some nasty stuff in that water, in that footing. So, and I'll update this, I guess it falls under Athletics Phase 2, Warren Central Baseball. I was actually on the phone with the contractor a while ago. He is out there moving some dirt and continuing with the irrigation line, and he is working daylight to dark because he's like the rest of us, he wants to get grass growing ASAP so we can get on it this fall and have a good stand-up play next spring. But all in all, that project's going well. The scoreboard has been tested, ran. Cedric and his team has installed some stuff on the press box, and they've got the cameras going, and it's going to be a nice show once we do have football on that campus. Any questions on Warren Central Athletics? Not, I'll talk about the building. That building, as you're aware, was one of the bigger ones that was impacted by COVID. It had the weirdest layout phase because of the shifting of the cafeteria and the gym. And when COVID hit and there was the final determination that we're not coming back on campus, we got with Eric and the contractor. He took a big bite out of a big apple. And what that has created is you have a lot more existing space that will be available for the start of school than you were planning. However, like Gary said, the flip side is we're not quite as far along in the new addition as we anticipated. And what I'm meaning by that, we're going to have some door frames not painted, some VCT not down. But Eric has walked that building with Mark and the superintendent and literally handpicked, I want this room, I want that room, I want to do this in here, and those are the rooms that'll be done. So you'll have some contractors on site working in, for instance, the Culinary Arts Academy. They'll still be working in that area because Eric doesn't need it right now. So you'll see them, as far as the main existing building, they're in clean, waxing, getting ready for teachers and kids to come back. And you will see the routing of it's going to be a little funny because we're working in that area, but you will see the band hall in the main building connected with temporary plywood and canopy closures so the kids can go back and forth, rain, shine, whatever it may be. But you'll see it up and then you'll see it down for 3 or 4 days when they put in sewer, then you'll see it back up. So that's a very fluid area of the building, and it'll look like a disaster until next summer in that little alleyway, as I call it. Any questions on Warren Central? All right. I will tell you, Eric's excited. You'll have a little bit more parking on that building when you come back than when you left in February. And hopefully by next August, you'll have a lot more parking on that campus.
Jason, on that, I was out there today. Are you all gonna pave all the way out on the side going around to the field house, to that parking lot where the gravel is now?
The loop behind the back,
Yeah.
it will eventually all be paid, but it will not be paid before school starts. But it 100% gets paid. The main focus was, because I still got a lot of work to do back in there with softball and fencing, was to get it to the point to where we can have ambulatory access to that football field for an event. So that's why you see the asphalt stop where it stopped. On to the, I call it the easy one, we call it the good job. AOI is a new building. You know, its only concern is a new road that links with Warren Central Junior High and Vicksburg Junior High. AOI is going exceptionally well. We're still planning for an end of the year turnover, furniture move in. Jason has been great on that building as well. He's come up with some innovative ideas and to do some things, and he wants to put a sink here and there. And I mean, he's been great. He's excited. But Century is doing a very good job on that building. They've overcome some obstacles. They've had some suppliers giving them some issues with COVID, but that building is going well.
The siding is gorgeous.
And it's going
Yeah.
well.
So,
Good job.
the Rose Temple Road, when would they be able to use it?
They are finished. They are going to do base course this weekend. They're doing a shutdown with the city this weekend through Tuesday, but we will still have access for teachers coming in Monday. And I believe they've been working with the principals, but that's part of our end of the week visit. Let's make sure that's over there. But you will have at least a base course for bus loops and what have you by the time the kids come back.
Pray for no rain, please.
Yeah, no rain. The good news is that's lime treated dirt in the new area, so if it does rain, we can get on that pretty quick. And that brings us right to the junior highs. They are by far, we call them the dirtiest jobs. Well, they rival Bomar with just a lot of stuff going on. However, Paul Jackson, they have 5-year projects and they're staffed well. They have Bomar, both junior highs, Bovana and South Park. And they are the ones that have stopped first and said we're in cleanup putback mode. So when you walk that building, if you see a wax room over here and a room right beside it with no concrete, with no VCT, that's what it's going to look like when teachers and kids come back. And then they're going to start taking them, go right back into nights and weekends because their completion date on that is next July 21. So the entryway at Vicksburg Junior High is going to be safe, ready to go for basketball games and volleyball and Preston stuff that we're going to have there on that campus. Also, the elevator was one of the weird COVID and latent condition issues. They are actually out there right now, and they're getting ready to put in a stone sort of entryway drive so we can get food service in there. I think Ms. Laura has fruits and vegetables coming Tuesday, and then we'll have dumpster and trash access right there until the new elevator is installed. So that'll be, and let me clarify, that's not an ADA elevator, it's more of a freight type elevator. It does not impact student access. Bovana, South Park, those jobs are both doing pretty well. They're ahead of schedule. Again, the annual schedule, if you will. Bovana's down to one last restroom to get in. Again, we got a few nuanced pieces to get in. We got to replace audio enhancement, and that'll be nights and weekends. But for the most part, both of those projects are doing well, and their new additions are ongoing with paint and block fill in those buildings. So South Park's addition is ahead of Bovana's additions, and that was more building and some design issues they wanted to work through on those.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Bovana and South Park, when are the trails gonna be moved?
So Bovina's is going to be removed. It's in the contract, the way it worked. It's going to be removed. It'll probably be the end of next summer when Ms. McCann gets into the new building. South Park's, because of the cost to do the trailers there, Bill is going to be able to do that cheaper, but it's going to be once we get Dr. Minor in the new building, then Bill, and we're going to fence and then close and have canopies and all that, but Bill and his crew are going to take care of that at South Park. All right, moving on, Bovina, it is a big mess. We're going to have, Bowmore, I'm sorry, Bowmore. You're going to have kids in a classroom and they might have a window that's not painted with some bad plaster. That's because we can't fix the plaster until we get the window right. But you're going to see in some of the rooms, they've got new air conditioning, but the old unit's still in the ceiling just because of how invasive it is to take that down. So you're going to see Bowmar come to a big halt on the inside of the building until next summer. You'll see some work over Christmas, but until next summer. They are shifting, clean up, get ready for kids and teachers, nights and weekends work, and then a big push to get footings and foundations in and start erecting the new addition at Bowmar before the weather.
Which is exactly what we planned on doing. The other issue there that's critical is that we're applying for a grant with Archives and History for the completion of the exterior of the building. The windows are in the contract, but the exterior renovations, we're still applying for that grant, and that work hopefully will be awarded late fall and get the grant awarded so they could do it next summer.
Is that gonna save us money, or was that already calculated?
It was already planned.
Okay.
So, we took an alternate, we bid it out just to see what it was worth in this other one, and it's about $30,000 more than the grant, so that'd be really good. Be really good. Beechwood Phase 2, this is the finished project. So we're ongoing there, and if you have walked it, I will blatantly tell you there's some issues with quality of work there. However, Mr. Adams and his crew has started moving in and putting stuff in room and getting ready for teachers. He had people on staff the 20th doing some of that. But just know that it will look put together, but there's a lot of unsatisfactory work that's got to be addressed, and we're going to discuss that in detail with the contractor.
On our elementary, our doors going to be secured yet, that's coming later too.
But you're gonna have security at all times, but some of the work that has to be done for the total project will be next summer.
Right. Yeah, it will be secure, locked, keyed, or card access at all times. So no more propping doors open and bringing paint in to the back. That's over. So Redwood, it is the only project on here that is causing just a little bit of heartburn right now. We met with Mr. Wooten a little bit earlier today. He's got one bathroom that the contractor is making a big push to get complete. And kind of the agreement, Mr. Wooten says, as long as it's turning toilets flush on the 6th, we're happy. They will beat that. They've got everything floated out and prepped. They did have some issue getting some floor tile, but it is in the older building, if you will, it's the girls' restroom. So they'll have that completed hopefully by Tuesday, but we're keeping a hard eye on that. If there's any issues on there, we'll let you know.
Really dark grout, right? Really dark?
Dark grout.
Okay.
Dark
I thought
grout.
you wanted white grout. No, I do not want white grout.
White grout on the floor, dark in the wall.
Yeah.
So, and Warrenton Elementary, that one is, again, it's in the place where they stop, clean up, put together. However, you may know of an issue in the back where we lost lights to the back. I think it was 6 classrooms. Bill has really jumped on board and is taking care of that issue, and it'll be ready for kids to come back. So you see the completed projects there. Again, we just closed out the roofs. You got back $50,000, well, $49,500 on the 2 mega school roofing projects. So that was the last one that closed out. And I think Chad just signed the final change order on those, so that was good.
Let me make a comment about Beechwood Phase 2, and if you want us to stay for executive session, we certainly can. Our recommendation is that contractor needs to complete his contract. It's going to be torturous to do, but it's the better of the alternatives. That we just have to ride herd on them and get it done. There's penalties involved, there's all kind of things involved, but in public session, that's going to be our recommendation, is that we keep them and get it done. We can talk about any other options if you choose to. Any questions on existing projects before I've got a couple of action items?
Yes, sir. I just want to make sure now, because Building B is going to be the main building that most of the students will be.
Which school?
I'm sorry, Warren Central. Building B will be where most students will go, right? Because Building A, which is the new addition, I'm learning too, because I didn't go out to Warren Central. Building B will be the one that the students will basically go in, right?
You're gonna have students in the
You
new
have both
building
sides.
too.
You can
They have
have the
both
back side
sides.
of, the old part of A.
The
Old part.
backside.
The backside of A,
The
the
new
old
side
classroom.
won't be
The
open.
original
Okay,
half.
because the new side had all of the ceilings and everything out, so, okay, the backside. Okay, up on Vicksburg, I think you said the third floor, Coach knows better than I, but the Zero Hall, and then what's right after Zero Hall?
Zero Hall, then you don't,
What's the next one up?
but there's one.
So one won't be used, correct?
Is that the one next to Confederate?
No, I think it's on,
It's part of the upper floor.
One is,
yeah.
yeah,
Zero
we
used to
call
be
it
the main.
zeros where the old admin was, and then you got the
Yes.
half step of stairs.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
the all right, so you have the dining, the cafeteria,
The next floor, where the library is,
Yeah.
and all
And the auditorium.
an auditorium too,
And the
okay?
gym, and the gym.
Yeah, right
That's
there.
right. So
with-
the gym is unavailable.
Okay.
They can work in there, and we're still doing the gym edition. The auditorium is available for schedule.
Okay,
It's all but complete. We got some flooring things to address in there. But then above that's when we're gonna get back into the classroom space.
oh, okay.
You know where the aquaponics lab is? I think they're using that space.
Okay.
That's
It's
correct.
gonna be partial. Some is not used, some is used, but it's been coordinated with.
At Vicksburg Junior, the old entrance used to be where the office was. As you walk around and, you're walking through the halls, the corridors there, all of that is open. The wires are showing, but will that be,
Most of that has been tied up, and they have started putting in what we call the perimeter grid. So you'll see, they'll leave on a Monday afternoon and come back Tuesday morning, and 20% of it will be done. And they're just gonna,
There'll still be wires there. They won't be hanging down. They'll be tacked up tighter.
lights will be tied, ductwork will be tied.
and Warren Junior had the grids, I guess, on that first floor, I know that, and they just needed to put the.
They've still got work to do above there though, so they're not gonna put the tiles in until all that's.
That's correct. Yeah, audio enhancements, still gotta get some stuff in. And the new addition, the footings have been poured out front in Warren Central Junior, so you've got a good feel now of what that looks like, what that
So,
addition's gonna look
I
like.
know y'all done a lot of great work, and I know it's hard to do the renovations, but the challenge is if y'all see things that need to be addressed that aren't in the contract, like some of the rooms I went into, some of the marker boards, we're doing all this great work in the room, and we've left a 30-year-old cork board, and we need to bring that to our attention so we can make decisions.
We're gonna do a summary next week of some things that if y'all wanna talk about, we'll still do, but just to make sure everybody's clear of things that were not
But
done.
I don't want to see any wires.
I understand, we're on that.
No wires. I mean, we lived in a day and age in the years past where we had to run cabling and it was seen, it was exposed. Those days are over. We don't run wire outside of a conduit. And
That's exactly right.
we don't want to see antennas or anything else that we mounting on the side of buildings. Those all should be hidden and
It's already on
concealed
the
as
list
best
to get corrected.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I have a question as far as the student safety with the extra bodies of contractors on property. Are they gonna be wearing masks? Are they following
They are
social
supposed to wear
distancing?
masks. They're wearing vests, obviously, to identify who they are, but they're
Okay.
supposed to be wearing masks.
Yeah, they've got no contact, no,
Okay,
yeah, they're not to be around.
And one of the vendors even has a employee they've hired to check in at Vicksburg High School. When you enter, they do a head scan, they fill out a slip, and if you don't have that slip, you're not getting through the
getting through
building.
the building.
That's right.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Okay?
I think that's thrash, and
Yeah, just right.
Yeah, if you'll turn over to page 4, we got a couple of action item things. Gary can walk you through the ones on Vicksburg High.
Let me make a general
Early
comment
signs
about them.
stuff.
These things are here because of omissions, otherwise called a screw up.
Not perfect.
Well, correct. Obviously, there's some things that weren't included that should have been included. A couple of these are items that should have been covered and aren't. They just weren't in the contract. Number one, the renovating existing restrooms at Vicksburg High School. These are things that were taken out to save money only. And we did value engineering because we were over budget. and was one of the things that got reduced. It probably should not have ever been taken out, but it was. And this is what it costs to go back in and finish those toilets the way I think you're expecting them to be.
That's those bathrooms you were concerned about, Brian.
The one that had the red dots
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
Okay.
So
No,
we
well,
took
yeah,
a V-
that's different,
Yeah,
but those.
We
yeah.
took a VE credit on, at the recommendation of 61,000 for 4 bathrooms. This 68 is those 4 bathrooms plus working on 2 additional.
That's pretty cheap.
The second item was some plaster ceilings. We had some areas that were not shown to be corrected. They need to be corrected. It's a fair price. They're giving us fair prices, but it's work that needs to be done to make it compatible with the rest of the project. And similar thing on the vinyl floor. You know, we had issues on asbestos and other floors. This is a couple of areas that clearly were not in the documents, so they just weren't there. We haven't paid for them yet. Price is fair. They're well within your allowances. I will tell you that we still have over $800,000 in district contingency if you approve all of these items. But they do need to be done, and they're our recommendation that you approve them as changes. Questions?
Total dollar amount, do you know about, you know the total dollar?
Of all of them together?
I mean rough, just a rough figure, you don't have to.
110.
Okay, okay, thank you.
So do we need to do these separate?
They're all on the same school.
Yeah, I would do all the Vicksburgs together.
Make a motion, we accept change request for Vicksburg High School.
Sir,
It's been moved and proper second that we approve the change order for Vicksburg High School. Are there any questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
The other one's easier. It's giving money back, a $41,000 credit at Warren Central. We obviously.
I make a
recommend-
there a
motion,
motion?
to accept the credit.
Y'all can fight on that, Brian.
Take, I make a motion quick, somebody take it.
I know, before it gets too, we moved and proper second that we, for $41,000, be given back. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like us to stay?
Yes.
Do we, yeah, I was gonna ask you on that. Is there any action that needs to be taken on that Beechwood project?
If you do not change what's being done currently, there's no action that needs to be done. We're continuing to enforce the contract. We're having to beat them with a stick, but we're gonna enforce the contract.
It's your recommendation that we keep everything status quo?
It's the better of the 2 options. It's the lesser of 2 evils.
Today.
So for the purposes of question for safety, because two of you, that was one of your concerns about this. Do y'all have any other questions to address for completion rate of construction? Just want to make sure y'all had every access to them. And if you think we're fine with our conversation, not including them,
No, what I'm gonna do, I was just looking at our agenda, if it's okay, we can do 1 or 2 things. I see that you've got a district coronavirus response down at K. Item K, I don't know what that is, but it's probably broad enough to relate to if coach or anybody else wants to make a motion at some point. That's an opportunity, I think. It appears to me it is, that's broad enough that I don't know what else is included in that. So I'll step out and talk to Jason and Gary right now while y'all give the financial report, unless y'all need me in here for the financial reports. I'll find out about that one issue, and if I feel like I need it to hang around, we'll come back in and ask you to make a decision. So,
perfect.
sounds good.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Briggs.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Berg? You just come there and tear up everything. And charges.
we need to podium.
Y'all know, right?
It's got to be an old band man, he knows how to do it.
We just got a $41,000 credit.
You get a nice podium for that, couldn't you?
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
The financial reports for today, you'll notice that you have a April and May bank statement in front of you. As I've mentioned before, we are going through and reviewing all of our bank statements for the full year because we had some issues when we did the transition over from Munis. And so now, as we get closer to that and we resolve some of the reconciling items from month to month, I will be bringing those bank statements back to you in its entirety for you to approve them with or without the reconciling items as we clear those items up. So you may see some bank statements twice. You may see some months, several months at a time. But to make sure we're in compliance and bringing you bank statements as we reconcile from month to month, I bring you them with reconciling items, but I also bring them back to you once we've cleared the reconciling items so that you'll see where we are at that point. So that's why you'll see in front of you April and May. Moving on, I have in your packet the statement of revenue and expenditures, but what I'll cover, because the statement of fund balance actually has the year-to-date revenue and the year-to-date expenditures on it. If you look at your statement of revenue expenditures from fund balance, it's the long sheet. For 1120 district maintenance, you show right now that we have a current fund equity balance of $22.79 million currently in our account. And moving down, if you look at the second page, we have a grand total of $112 million in our fund balance, and that is collectively all of our accounts across the district. That includes all of our federal accounts, all of our 16 section accounts, as well as our construction accounts. Okay. As I move through, the next thing that I'll take you through is the Avalon request. What I'll say to these reports that I'll touch base on, we are in the month of June. We've started closing our fiscal year. So you will see June numbers as we close here. We have journal entries and accruals and all those things that we're making to close the fiscal year. So as we do that, we're doing it to what we call the close period for June. So you'll continue to see June numbers until we officially close the books. And then, but you'll also see reports for the new year. So starting next month, you'll see FY20 numbers and FY21 numbers until we physically close the books. Right now, we're still in FY20 with June. That said, we've so far with Avalon year to date, we've collected $29.3 million. For the month of June, we got a check for $607,000. And when you look at that compared to previous years, we're actually lower year to year on our monthly amount as well as our collected amount. And if you look at the one that has the numbers, you'll see that right under the $32 million, which is what we requested before we knew about the Braxton Wilson issue, there was a $1.4 billion negative down there simply because we were planning for that $1.4 billion, being that we had sent in our request before we knew about the impact. As you can see now, that 1.4 now is showing $2 million. So based on what we've received thus far, we're expecting a $2 million impact versus a $1.4 million impact. So
From our ad valorem.
From our ad valorem.
From our income from the county.
Yes. Now, that is based on where we are currently. We have not closed the books. We still have time to get some more revenue in for that. Generally, we have another we set up receivables for anything we receive in the month of July. So at that point, next month, you'll have a more realistic view of what our shortfall amount will be.
Do you think that part of that shortfall is the Baxter Wilson?
Yes.
But is the other part, were taxpayers given a break? I mean, during COVID, we were given
they were given an extension.
An extension,
and I think
so that's where the other million is, you figure?
I'm thinking that extension puts it out. So normally where we would have our revenue in by April. Right. We've got an extension to September. June. I think it was June 15th. So because that 2-month lag, we may actually see that 2-month lag in our receipts.
So we're expecting the other million maybe to show?
I don't know. It's hard to say, but like I said, I planned for a full reduction when I built our FY21 budget. So I did do a cross-the-board 15% reduction expectation. So if we continue to see this, even with the 2-month lag, if we don't get those receipts in, we have enough cushion that I built into our reduction for the upcoming year that it won't be a major impact to us.
But I think the tax sale has also been moved back when they.
Right.
Yes.
So is it still in August or have they moved it?
It's in August.
Okay, so I mean, normally other people buying other people's property for tax, they're paying the taxes, they wait till August to do it. So even though the owner may not have paid it.
Right.
It'll most likely get paid.
Yes, sir.
Not all of it, but a lot of it will be.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Briggs, and in this update, just, and it may be towards the end, you could kind of maybe give us, I know you have an inside eye on potentially where we might be sitting. I mean, I know the governor vetoed the education budget, and, you know, we'd love to have our MAEP money to be able to operate. Do we have any clue what might happen there?
I think the governor would probably operate under emergency powers, make sure the districts get their money if it's a 1 month lag. My anticipation is he'll call the legislature back into session at some point. I don't know if it's a waiting to see how things, you know, make sure they have that outbreak in the Capitol, make sure people are over that, but my anticipation is the session will be called at some point, and that'll be corrected.
And that's like
I say corrected, that's not wrong. That'll be, the veto will be considered and either overridden, or there'll be another education budget, one of the two that'll be passed.
Yeah, and one of the MPE updates, I think it was a Jim Hood 2004 Attorney General's opinion based on that he has the ability to do it. I just, his ability and desire, I just didn't know you were there, and I just want to make sure we're going to be able to operate.
We're still good regardless.
Yeah,
Right.
some issues on line items too that'd be too long to get into right now.
Okay, but you feel pretty comfortable we're going to be okay and get some of our money?
Yeah, no, I feel comfortable. Now, the concern anybody's got is that if we have a massive, I hope we don't, but if we had a massive downturn in the economy, as we've had in some years, when we had a recession, if y'all remember about 10 or 11 years ago, the economy downturn was so bad, and once the state revenue goes down to a point where you're 5% below, every part of the state's got to absorb cuts, which would include MAEP and everything.
Sure.
You know, everything from corrections, public safety, Department of Health, everything. Hopefully, we don't get to that point.
Sure.
You know, it'd have to be a bad downturn in the
But
economy.
we ended with a surplus, $60 million.
Well, we ended with a below revenue, just to be, it's kind of hard to understand, but below the projected revenue, and we were 40 some odd million, but we had a little cushion going into that, so the net effect was, I'd say, around 50 million. Yeah, there's still some things that kind of drift in a little bit late, and I think this month, the indications were month of July, or that we're slightly ahead, but slightly, you know, maybe a few million. But I know some people are concerned about July's revenue, sales taxes, and some things may be down, so August could be a little difficult, but you don't know, that's why you have to balance it out. This past year, we were 200 and something million up, and then 1 month gone. You know, had a $240 million loss in 1 month in April, so just hope we can stay, keep the economy open, keep things going.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Skeeta. I
No,
don't
you're
steal
fine.
your time.
You're fine. Actually, that leads me into the MAEP. For our June collection, we collected $2.4 million compared to the 2.5 that we collected this time last year. And we have an overall year-to-year collection for MAEP of $28.175 million. And you compare that to last year of $28.575 million, and it's about $400,000 difference from year over year. So it's not as big of a hit that I was thinking that we would be having at this point with MAEP, so that's still a good sign for us. And casino revenue was a major concern of mine, but in looking at the numbers for the month of April, I think it was, we got $1, and then and then we this month, no, it was May, we got $1. For May we got $1, and this month we got zero. We didn't get anything in. Well, as I was preparing for the meeting today, I got a notice that we got 56,195 in for casino gaming, which tells me that they're starting to open back up, and we're starting to see that revenue. So $2,794 of that was for May collections. So when you look at what they collected, what we got in May, based on what they collected in April, we got $1. And then what they collected, what we got this month, based on what they collected for May and June, was only $2,700. And now we're looking at, in July, the collections for June, it's back up to $53,000. So I think it's starting to trend in the right way, but that was one of my biggest concerns. But the good thing about it, from the way we budget, I've never really considered casino revenue as one of those major sources.
No.
So, which has always been a good thing for us. Based on the way I've been watching it trend, it has never been one of those things that I budget for as one of those reliable sources. So, that said, I'll take you to our statement of cash flow, and then I should be done. Statement of cash flow, we're at June estimates. We're estimating ending the year with about $2.7 million. Currently, that was before we finish all of our transfers and get ready as we close the year. That would put us at $15 million over what we have set as our 12% cap as far as our operating cap. And that, to me, like I said, that really puts us in a really good position. You know, as we approve you guys approve the board budget, you approve the budget to allow us to have a $4 million, go into our fund balance of $4 million. Even doing that with $22.6 million to $22.7 million, if we have to go into our fund balance like you approved, like the budget you approved, then we're still at a wonderful position. And if we end up getting more MAEP than the 15% across the board that I planned for, then we'll be in an even better position and will be less of that amount of money we have to take out of our rainy day fund. I'm done.
I have a question on, I guess it's athletic income maybe?
Yes.
With athletic events, people going to games, concession sales, all the things that I guess that goes into student affairs or
Yes.
student
Activities.
If we're not allowed to have, but X number of people in the stands, then,
Revenue.
revenue is gonna go down, so how does that affect the athletic budget, or
Well, the
overall
great-
budget, or
the
does it
great-
affect it at all? Do you really look at that money?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I hurt Preston's feelings when I told him his athletic budget was cut by the lack of playoff revenue
Right.
and game revenue that he may not get.
Right.
However, the vast majority of the major projects that he was looking to do, we had already budgeted for, and he had already started some of those projects. I think the only big hit that we were looking at this year was band, whether or not we're gonna really need to replace those band uniforms and band instruments. That's still up in the air. That's one of those adjustable type things. So based on that, athletics budget is pretty strong. And anything that he's planning for is kind of BAU right now with athletics. And so that revenue I'm not gonna say it won't be missed, but we've accommodated for it. And in the budget that you guys approved, it's a part of that $4 million. So.
I mean, we have to potentially look at, even in the spring, at musicals, at not having those sales as well. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot in student activities that.
And like I said, we've taken all of that into consideration. I really have planned for the extreme worst.
Right.
I have planned.
Oh, yeah, you did. I mean, your budget was beautiful, yeah.
I don't know that the musicals actually pay for themselves.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Well, and, quite frankly, there are very few activities that pay for
That pay for
themselves. I mean, honestly, apart from football, I don't know that we have anything that pays for
Right,
itself.
right.
And, but
I literally budgeted for dire straits. So anything that we get in from an additional revenue standpoint will just make things a lot better for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are you finished?
Would you mind financial report? Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the financial report.
Second.
Moved and properly second that we accept the financial report. Are there any questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
The next thing on the agenda is the clearing account interest. Again, as a part of our closing activities, we bring to you at the end of every year, we have an accounts payable clearing account, and we have a payroll clearing account where we process payments through. And at the end of the year, any interest earned on those accounts, we bring it to you and ask you to allow us to transfer that into district maintenance. So that is what this is. We
I
have
make a motion
$18 million that we're gonna be asking you to transfer.
I make a motion that we transfer the interest.
Second.
There's a motion to accept the clearing account interest to be transferred into the district fund bank account. Are there any questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
Okay. Next on the agenda for finance is, we brought to you last month, asked you for approval to go out and bid our private healthcare services. We had that bid opening this morning, which is why you see this in front of you just now. Based on the specs and the responses, we only got responses from 2 vendors, and they're the 2 vendors we're currently using. And because of their scoring, the scoring was extremely close. Basically they tied. So what SPED is asking is that the board approve using both vendors for the healthcare services, and that way they can kind of plan and use those resources in various areas as needed.
And the vendors are willing to split
Yes, it's basically,
what they're doing now?
yeah, so basically that's what they're doing now.
Right,
anyway.
right. Are any of these vendors local?
Yes.
May I ask a question, Mr. President?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, you said basically, and I want to make sure
Which-
you said they're basically the same. and I
Okay,
wanna
well,
make sure the board knows.
Okay,
what
when
we're
I,
voting on.
right, and that's what I have in my description. One offers some services, a little bit, they're strong, they have their strong suits. And what SPED wants to be able to do is look at, like, if they're offering RNs or they're offering LPNs or private care, she want to be able to, use the various strengths from each vendor and say, okay, well, this we're allocating. We've used you here, and if you have more RNs than this person have, then let's just split that off. That's what I mean by basically.
But I'm concerned for the board that if they vote, if one contractor, one proponent bid in and said that, I'll do it for this fee, and they're thinking they're getting the whole project, I don't want the board to vote. I want to make sure that we're taking.
Yeah, so because I'm looking at the
That's what I
prices
was
here.
asking.
Bid, even, if they may, maybe that it's not a big deal, but at the same time,
Well, and if you look at,
hot water on the.
I get it, looking at the prices, the,
Was it price, is
PCAs.
it price driven?
Well, it's both.
It's both.
There's a rubric in
Yeah,
here.
there's a rubric.
And they are
And-
identical. There's a difference in percentage on the private home care. On the projected financial cost was 49%, green care was 48%, but they tied on corporate structure, credentials, and prior experience at 20%, but at operations and plan to perform, private home care is at 28%, and green care picked up that 29%, which is where their percentage, and that the
And we-
proposed properly labeled both were, and that the total is 97%.
So you're saying the
on
rubric
each.
came out, they scored the same?
Exactly
Yes.
the
The
same.
prices may be
And
different on different.
Yeah, so can you break, did your proposal say you could break down parts within the?
For zones within coverage, or
Like, in
they,
other words, if one of them scored a 28 and the other one scored a 29, with the higher score being better, did our bid proposal say that you could separate those entities out? So I could pick the 29 for this thing, this company bid a 47, another one bid a 42, I'll take the 47 for this, then I'll,
No,
I mean, does it give us that?
No, all the proposal said is you will be, the rubric will assign points based on these 3 categories. And again, the current situation that we have now, we have both vendors in the district, and we have one, and I'm just gonna explain to you how we got to the percentages. So when you look at the first one that got 49%, the fact that out of the 3 prices, they tied with one, so they lost a point as far as them having the higher amount. When you look at the second vendor, two of their amounts was higher than the other one, so they lost 2 points. So that's how you got a 49 versus a 48. So, and then when you look at their corporate structure and all of those things, there was really no different in their corporate structure and all of, so they got the same amount of points. And then when you get down to the operations and platform and all of those things, one company got a 28% simply because when we looked at the past experiences with them, their billing and how their allocation of resources, there were some issues along the way that they are aware of. So they lost a couple of points based on those issues. And the second vendor along that line, we may have had, because it was so new to the process and they didn't have the overall experience or with the district that this first one had, they lost a point. So we tried to be, I mean, like I said, there's a rationale for every point that somebody got or lost, and being that they're still both working in the district now, we just felt like it was still to the best interest of our kids to keep the way they are. You got kids that are used to working with this person from this group. We got kids that are used to working with these people from this group, and to try to minimize the
Disruption
of the kids from a SPED standpoint, since the scores were so close.
But when you need to hire someone, who determines which one of these people gets it? I mean,
Right, that was gonna be my question. And the reason why, to just expound on what Mr. Attorney is saying and what Mr. Pratt just said is, and I think this is where what we're trying to ask Ms. Burks, is that who's gonna choose company A or company B? If company B is lower than, and you pick company B over company A who is higher, will they complain that you pick company A?
Right.
Well, what we gotta ask
or
is.
vice versa?
Right, what we always
And
ask
that
is
part of the contract.
anytime we bring a bid before the board and there's a higher price, we ask that the vendors, and we've always done this, we ask that the vendors match. So the one that is a higher price, we will ask them to match the price of the lower price vendor to give them that opportunity so the district is paying.
What is the breakdown
consistent
of percentage of work on company A versus company B? Because right now, if I'm company A, and I've got 95% of the work now, and I'm company B and I have 5% of the work, but we just had a bid and y'all tied, I'm gonna continue to get 5% of the work and you're gonna give 95% of it to company A? I mean, I don't understand how that.
That's a question for the SPED director. I'll have to get with her and get back to you guys.
And I think some of that may be dependent on availability and size of company, but I can get you
I mean, what's fair? I don't want to create a conflict with this company, so I'm wondering if they're not currently both doing 50% of the work or something close, that all new work is first offered to A till A gets to a certain point. I mean, I don't want, are we opening ourselves up legally here?
That's
Grace?
what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
This is very bizarre.
I'm wondering what the time frame is for getting these, because I'd sure like to take this under advisement. I'm not real satisfied that we got it clean enough that the board couldn't put themselves in a tough spot by approving a split. Because if I think my bid was better and I didn't get 100% of it, or I didn't get 75% or whatever, it could put us in a tough spot. What's our deadline for having this stuff?
First day we meet with children.
Yes. I mean, the board has the right to not take my recommendation and just approve one vendor. We just, like I said, based on the recommendation from the SPED director.
Yeah, but you haven't given us any grounds to do that. Does that make sense? When you tell me that both of them scored the same thing, I'm opening myself up even more if I pick one.
Because did they know that going in?
Yeah, that's my
Right.
question. It seems to me like if you broke it down in different groups and you like certain things, if our bid was worded well enough, then we've got the authority to pick and choose for the different projects, we're probably okay. But if we didn't, if we just said, give us your best bid on all these things, and then we're deciding to split them. Now, those companies may be fine with that, and if they are, and they're the only two companies that bid on it, and they will sign off that they're okay.
So do we not currently have a contract with them if they're already in the district? So if we don't make a decision on this come first of school, is anything going to happen to it?
The reason why we're bringing it forth as a bid is because we were spending almost $1 million in private health care. That is a purchasing law that we have to bid this. That's why we're bidding it. But, I mean, I have to go back to the SPED director and find out the answers to your question, and then we can go from there.
Okay, Coach Stevens has something, and then we'll.
In a motion that the superintendent, the financial officer, and the attorney, along with the sped,
Correct.
make that decision.
I think you're gonna have to,
We can't,
I think you're gonna have to balance it.
Once you all together.
I'll have to go back and pull, like I said, based on his concern, I'll go back and pull the RFP to see if we had the verbiage in there that we've reserved the right to choose one or both.
And the history that,
Yeah, but I think
since we
we're
both
gonna-
have them, I'd like to know what they've done last year in percentage.
Mr. Attorney, you had something?
I just say, if y'all want to table this, if I can get that information, I could probably look at it while we're in the meeting, right now, and then at the end of the meeting, come back and remove it from the table for consideration. If I look at it and can see that the language will allow us to do this,
Okay.
then we can approve it, but if it doesn't, we may have to, the superintendent may have to enter into an emergency contract with some services until we can get it approved in the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Make
Is
a
there a
motion to
motion
table,
Is there a motion?
be tabled.
Sorry. Make a motion that we table.
G3. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we table G3. Are there any other questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
My last item is, when I did my budget hearing, Mr. Bass reminded me that I had one vehicle in my budget presentation, but he and I spoke, when we did his budget together for transportation. I actually budgeted for 2, service vehicles for him, and so he cannot purchase that second one until I come back to the board and ask the board's permission for him to purchase that second, service vehicle.
but it's in the budget.
Yes.
Correct.
So what are
Yes.
you asking us to do here? You asking us to approve the first one or approve the second one?
We're asking you to approve a second one.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the second vehicle for transportation.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve G4, which is the second bus for transportation. Are there any other questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Where are we? Okay.
Consent.
Consent.
All right, we here now. Are there any items to be pulled from, thank you, Ms. Burke. Are there any items to be pulled from the general consent, proposed consent?
K1,
Sir,
K1.
K1 is not on consent.
K's
wait,
one's
we're
not
gonna,
consent.
okay. Yeah, you'll be able to get to K1.
K consists
G,
of,
H, I, and J are consent.
Right. Are there any items to be pulled? I hate to say this, and this is gonna really make the meeting a little longer, but I do have some items to be pulled. Unfortunately, due to Corona, I was not able to get my questions answered, so I have to ask them now. So if you will pull H1, 2, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 18.
5, wait, 6,
I said it real fast so y'all would
11,
know.
12, 13, what?
15, 16, 18.
Okay.
So it's gonna be 1, 2, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 18. Are there any other items to be pulled? If not, is there a motion?
make a motion, we accept the amended consent agenda
18.
with the exclusion of
1, 2, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 5.
1, 2, 5, 6.
1, 2, 5, 6.
11,
11, 12, 15, 16, 18.
13, 15, 16, 18. We got it.
Okay.
Well, some of them
We got
already
it.
had
Thank you.
circles.
With
It wasn't
that,
my circles.
Second.
thank you. It's been moved and properly second.
Okay.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. On the accounts payable document, Ms. Burke, Chad and I glanced over, I know, right? Chad and I glanced over the
He's not in here.
accounts claims doc. Oh, I'm talking to myself.
Sure are. I looked up and I went, yep,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
fixing to have
sorry.
to answer this question.
Well, okay. I was just curious as to, on the admin, right on the first page it is, we have, in June, we had a $2,000 bill from AT&T, and in the same June, we had another $2,000 bill, and I'm just trying to see, we had $4,000 in,
Yes.
AT&T.
Good ears.
AT&T.
Yes,
The question you have is, those charges are for our administration building. That is phone charges, long distance charges for all of our administrative buildings. These 3 buildings, the
But
cottage.
we get 2 separate bills?
Yes. They come in separate bills. I think one you're looking at was for June.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I think the other one may be for, July. And they actually, some of them are divided based on the actual location. So,
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
I have no other question. Are there any
I
other?
make a motion that we accept line item H1.
Second. It's been moved and properly second that we approve H1. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. I don't know, from the back. Capital assets. I think I saw Wade out there. Yes. On your general capital assets where you have the new acquisitions and the surplus. On the return, the no return Chromebooks, do you know what grades they are? Have they already graduated, or are they
Some
still
of
in?
them are graduated, that have, they left without returning their Chromebook at all.
Yes, sir.
And some of them are, they just hung on to it until the next year, and we just reassigned it back to them, or they lost it over the summer. So that's been filed with the police report.
Yep. And we'll disable those initially, which makes them a real nice doorstop. And then we will, we will also, and of course, we're going to reach out. I mean, we're not just going to make the assumption that every one of our students stole them. We're going to make contact and have them bring those back in. And then, of course, if that doesn't happen, we'll follow the policy to file a police report for the stolen item.
On that same line, what are we gonna do with teachers that have?
Oh, that's different.
They have a policy that says they have to.
That's correct. It's a fixed asset, and they're responsible for that. They sign for that.
I have nothing else.
I make a motion that we accept line item H2.
Moving proper second that we accept the capital assets report. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign.
Yep.
Motion is approved. On H5, this probably is the sped director, and she may have to get back with me.
I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Oh, that's wonderful.
At first I was talking to Ms. Burks and she wasn't even in the room, and now you all of a sudden show up. Thank you very much. This is getting scary.
There are other people out there listening to you. You want me to show you?
No, ma'am. Okay, on the H5, how many students are we talking about? Will we transport them? Will they transport them? Is it daily? And if they're absent, will we pay for them being absent?
Yes, there are several parts to that question. It depends upon if the student is in day treatment or if they are residential. If they are day treatment, then we are transporting them, and we do pay for the transportation. There's a cost to MDE, and we pick up the remainder cost, and that cost is set. So transportation is provided. If they are residential, then they are staying at that facility, and there's no transportation costs involved.
Okay, and when you say that the company that you're asking about with the agreement, they will provide the transportation, or will the student themselves have to provide their own transportation?
No, we provide that transportation if they are day treatment students. Now, the parents do have the option to transport the kid if they choose to, as we have had some parents to do that, since COVID. But we reimburse that transportation. Other than that, when we have buses running, we provide that transportation for the students.
How many kids were we talking
And how many kids, at this time, we only have one at Mill Creek, but of course, those numbers vary depending upon, as behaviors arise or if the IEP committee makes that decision. But at that currently, we have one. Last year, we housed one kid there.
So we're not in school now, but you know about how many students we may have?
No,
Okay.
that number is fluid, it varies.
Okay.
And that is an approved, day treatment agency.
Or what? I'm sorry, you cut out.
I'm sorry, that is an approved state day treatment and residential treatment agency.
Okay, if they're absent, do we still have to pay?
We're not in school now, but you know about how many students we may have?
No, we never know how many students we may have because that's an IEP committee's decision. It varies. And depending upon the treatment and if they're successful, that time could vary. They could be there anywhere from 90 days to 6 months to a year. It just depends. So that number always varies.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't make myself clear. If the student is absent, will we have to pay for that student being absent?
No.
Okay.
When they're absent, those days are counted and the cost is adjusted based upon their presence and absenteeism.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Make a motion, we approve item 8.6.
Five.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, 5, excuse me, I'm sorry.
There's a motion to approve H5. Second. It's been moved and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. On H6.
Yes, sir.
On page 2, this contract talks about if the student is absent, we are charged the daily rate. Is that true in this case?
No, that is the same agency as we are using with Mill Creek. That is a state-approved agency as well. If the student is absent and their day treatment, they're not charged. If they're residential, they're housed there. So we should not be charged if they are absent during that school day. I will contact the agency and get more clarification on that, and if we need to amend that, we can.
Okay, that is section 3, C. Section 3, C.
Okay.
Okay. This is just a, okay, that's all I have, ma'am.
I make a motion that we approve line item H6.
Second. The moved and properly second that we approve H6. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. We're going to 11 now. 5, 7, 9, 10. Oh, that's 13. On 11.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, 11 and 12 will be the same question, so maybe you can just lead in and kind of tell me about these two. One is a preparation and writing IEPs, but then the other one talks about evaluating the student, the IEPs and writing. So, I mean, I want to make sure that, even we will vote on this separate. I just want to make sure that these two are not the same. And let me say that whatever you tell me about special needs, I'm going to vote yes for. But I do want to know the difference as to why it appears like both of them are doing the same thing.
Okay, so 11.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 11 is a consulting services that we're having to use. Reason being is our school psychologist, of course, she relocated and we were left without a school psychologist and we're not able to hire a licensed school psychologist. So that's the reason for using their services. Also, when we have students or parents who request an outside evaluation aside from what the district has done, then we have to contract with a psychologist to be able to do that work. So 11 is for a licensed school psychologist. They will evaluate the process and look at behavior, and we also have to have one on staff for those students who are ruled eligible in the area of EMD. They're the only ones who can give a student an eligibility with an EMD ruling. Only school psychologists can do that. So we have to contract with a service of school psychologists to provide that service.
Is it?
Number 12.
I'm sorry. Is it any reason why the contract amount you wanted to go, you said up to 30, but the actual contract says 24 was 24,000, I'm sorry, was the max?
Yes, and the reason why we said that is up to 30. It depends upon how we have to use them. We may not need to use them as often. So we did up to 30, but we wrote the contract for 24. And the reason why we went there is because we have been able to secure a school psychologist, but she has not onboarded yet because she's out of state and she's waiting on her license.
So should we say,
Yes.
or the contract says not to exceed?
Should that say 30,000
Right.
instead of 24?
That's my, yes.
Yep.
Should that say not to exceed 30,000 instead of 24?
We will move that back down to 24,000, and the reason being is in the process of doing the actual contract, I was able to secure a school psychologist. So we will not exceed the 24,000.
So the motion needs to be 24 instead of 30 there.
Right.
24,000. Yes, sir.
So we should change the 30,000 and just say contract up to 24,000. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes, sir. That was my error on the actual narrative.
Not an error, ma'am, just an oversight. So would someone please make a motion to change the contract amount from 30,000 to 24,000?
I make a motion that we accept H11 with the addendum to change the dollar figures from 30,000 to 24,000.
It's been moved and properly second that the contract amount was up to 24,000. Are there any questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. And I think you gave me the what I needed on the, you told me what the difference was. And the good part about this is you said it's no cost to the district budget. And
yes, sir.
What are we on 12?
Yes, ma'am. She had answered 12,
she already
but she did say that there was no cost to the district. It was coming through something else. So may I have a motion?
I make a motion to
Please.
accept H12.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve H12. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Personal development, my favorite. Thank you.
No.
Oh, I missed I said 13, right?
No, you're right.
13.
My bad. I lost count of the whole packet over here.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Personal development contracts. Will they be virtual or will they be in person?
Mr. Sturgis, this is Laura Prather, and that will be basically left up to the building principal and the basics, the way the situation is. If we start the school year off, it will be virtual. And as the situation changed, it may become personal, face to face.
Yes, ma'am. Are you submitting three under 13, 3 contracts under 13?
3 contracts under 13, and there should be an additional one, and I don't know the number, I'd have to get back to the screen, but it should be Kids First.
21, we didn't pull that.
That's 21.
We didn't pull that one.
No, you good. Yeah, Kids First is the last one. It was 2 contracts.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear you.
Yes, ma'am. You're good with Kids First.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure so if it is virtual, the price will remain constant, what we have here.
That we did not, I don't think the price will change, but I can go back and check that as well.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see how, Well, I can check.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
I will let you know.
Yes, ma'am. Do we have any other questions?
I make a motion that we accept H13.
We move in proper second that we'll approve H13. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Only thing on this milk, I don't think she's on the phone.
She's around.
She's in the hallway though.
Oh, hey,
Hey, love.
thank you. Under this milk bid, under the milk bid, you gave a very good reason why, and I understand, but is that pretty much what we've been, the dollar amount? Because
Yes,
it's
sir,
only
it is.
one person that,
Craig Long was actually the only bidder. We ended up with a limit bid. So, the other purveyor that normally puts a bid in chose to withdraw their bid.
so this one, the dollar amount is within what it pretty much was last year?
Yes, sir,
I'm sure it'll be
within
about-
1 penny.
Yeah, okay.
We went on that 1 penny that you and I discussed about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any other? I have nothing else. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I make a motion, we accept line item H15. Don't go
Moving proper
here.
second, we
Equal
approve
16.
H15. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed,
Aye.
like sign. Motion is approved. Is 16 from the, oh,
That's you too,
I'm
Laura.
back,
Yeah.
Laura.
I thought we had already increased this last year. They have another increase for the adults?
The meal pricing on the adults for both breakfast and lunch, yes, sir, that was a USDA guideline. We had no other choice.
No, I'm saying, so the amounts, we didn't approve 375 and 220 last year? Because you brought us something last year.
I got it to 370 and withheld it for another
Oh,
7 months.
so
I
the-
was
so it
able
went-
to withstand it
so
for
it
a
did
little
go
while
up.
to kind of ease the pockets for the teachers and the adults. But they gave me no other choice this year.
So,
We have,
the adults is $3.75 for lunch and $2.20 for breakfast.
yes, sir.
All right. I just wanted, I knew we had increased it, but I didn't know, I mean, last year, I didn't know this was a new price. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion, we accept line item H16.
Moving properly second that we approve H16. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Is there a dollar figure on 18? That's all I need to know. I don't have, do you all have a dollar figure?
As
On
far
your
as the
computer?
cost to the,
Yeah.
there is no cost.
Oh, no cost?
Mm-mm. What they'll do is it's based on the number of photos that are taken.
Okay.
And then there will be a dollar amount that we'll give you back to the actual school for
Okay.
Beechwood. So it'll be and you won't know until after the photos are taken for that.
Okay, no cost to, okay, good. Okay. That's all I have, man. I just wanna make
I
sure.
make a motion to accept line item H18.
Been moved and properly second that we'll approve H18. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Opposed,
Aye.
like sign. Motion is approved. Sally told me that she read the handbook, so I'm gonna go with Sally.
You didn't pull it.
I know, I didn't, did I? But you told me you read it, so I wasn't worried about it.
Is that it, or we got more?
I, we have I. Is there anything with
No, you
Darren?
didn't pull any. We approved all that. Now we're on K.
Yeah, we on K.
Okay.
We're on K. You're coach.
President of the board, I would like to ask for a motion that, the first 2 weeks of school be virtual.
Would you have a date on that?
That'll be the 7th through the 12th, and it'll be the 15th through the 19th, if I'm correct.
So when you say virtual, would you kind of expound on what you mean by virtual coach?
All our kids will be at home.
From what date?
From 2
You want
weeks,
the 7th
2
through
weeks,
the 12th.
starting with the 7th.
So not delaying our start of school.
No, not delaying.
Just
But
do
that-
it
but
until the
that would still-
16th.
Yeah.
But that would still,
Well, all I'm trying to do is try to see, the numbers, are we still rising, or are we
But we can't delay it after
No.
the 16th, because then our children in dual credit and VOTEC aren't gonna get
Well,
their
at that
credit.
time, that gives what the president said to,
That was-
all the
Demon
parents.
sex and
All the parents.
DNA doesn't count for me.
All the parents that, VOTEC and want to do this, then they have that time.
But they already have the option to do virtual already.
So I
I
don't
mean,
know
the
what
option is
what-
already
what
there.
I'm saying.
Everybody can stay home if they chose to.
True, but what the president said earlier makes so much sense. I don't know that they get it the right way. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
this president,
Yeah.
not that other one.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Jim.
I was very
I'm
confused.
sorry. I apologize, Jim.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Oh, you.
No, I'm talking about,
Our president.
yeah. See, because all I'm looking at right now is that it's on the rise. Here, Warren County, I'm not worried about Cleveland County, Madison County. Warren County is right on the hot spot. You know, when I lived in a town all my life, and I see the coroner asking for more freeze boxes to put people in.
But that's because we don't have morgues. We don't go there with
We
that.
never
We don't have
had
a
before.
morgue, so it doesn't matter.
We never had before. We never had to do this.
But
So
if you
what
don't
I'm
have,
saying, we're in a.
that just feeds a fire.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is that's my, we all got one of those.
So what did you just,
His motion is to go virtual for 2 weeks, no face-to-face.
But,
What's the-
just
what
just
would
for
it-
clarity purposes, if the motion is 2 weeks, that does not get us to the 17th. Because the start date for our kids is the 7th currently.
Right.
And the last day before we scratch dual credit will be, the 14th would be the last day. So that puts us 6 days. You'd have the 7th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th before you move into
So we have 14.
dual credit.
Coach, I don't think it's worth it.
I can't put that.
I mean, I just don't think that just a week is going to
And
make
a
that
week's not
much
gonna
of a
matter.
difference, but it could. I mean, it could. The projections show the curve coming down after August 3rd, and that was, some scientists that are a lot smarter than us did it. And they, so is that gonna happen? We don't have any idea. That's between the dear Lord and that virus. So, I don't know.
there's a
If we
motion?
could do it a month, it might make a difference, but I don't know that a week would. That's my opinion.
So Coach, your motion is from the 7th to the when?
14th,
To the 14th?
which would be the 7th, the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
There's a motion, and Jim Sturgis second the motion. Do we have any other questions?
I have one more question. Chad, would that week aid the teachers in training on the software?
We'll utilize whatever time we have.
Well, you're still gonna bring them
They're
in
still
later.
coming in next week.
So we're gonna have to pay them an extra week, so it's gonna cost us.
Ish. There's multiple solutions that
We
we.
still have to go to school 180 days.
That's correct. And the teachers are paid for 187 only. So we either adjust the days that the teachers are coming back with this motion, means they're not getting any more
If
days.
it's approved.
That's correct. They wouldn't be getting any more days because you would just adjust those same 4 days down for them. So the answer to the question of is it going to get extra days for training, under that answer is no. But there are days that are on our calendar that we can, in essence, move to the beginning, which are already times where, because there's 2 PD 4-day weekends, and you could burn those, but those would be a calendar adjustment in addition to, so I would need 2 motions. We would have to adjust the calendar to get those here. And I think there are, I don't know that we have 6 days. Did we wind up having 6, or was it 4 days that we had that were PD days?
We have 2 PD days where kids
Are
do
not here.
show up. And then there are 4 other days that could be off calendar for everyone.
Right, and they're not PD days. There's 2 PD days we could move, but the rest of them would be canceling holidays that have been approved in the current calendar.
Right. Fall break and winter break.
Yeah.
So if this is approved, what else is impacted? Is anything else impacted?
That becomes the safest thing to do. If you, any days, if we altered the schedule for 6 days, and with our governor being so adamant that we are meeting the 180 days and that there will be testing in the spring, that was his quote, we will be testing in the spring.
And
So-
when's the, if we go virtual for until the 14th or the 13th, whatever the day that is, that if we go virtual till then, what's the first benchmark test? What's the date on the first test, David?
Yeah, that's
So
just.
maybe I don't understand the motion. Is the motion?
Well, that,
But I want to know what it impacts.
It does.
What's the first benchmark test?
if Kim were on, she could give you a date, but it's that first week we come back, and we're doing that because we didn't have
So they're
state
going to take a
tests.
benchmark test as soon as they come back when we're face to face. Is that what we're saying?
Both online and face-to-face, because we don't have any state tests.
So I
So
got a
in
question.
doing that, what we're trying to do
I don't know
is
that I understand the
align
motion.
strategic planning.
I don't know that I understand the motion now.
Okay,
Is the motion to postpone the start date, or is the motion to go virtual?
correct,
On the 7th.
correct.
Go
So we'll
virtual on the
start on the
7th.
7th.
Right, we've already voted to go virtual or go to stay at home, but his motion is to go all virtual from the 7th to the
For 7
14th.
days.
Right.
But it impacts the kids with benchmarks.
I don't
And
know what that gains us.
can
I
I,
don't think it gains us.
I'm not equating life and football. I promise you, that's not what I'm intended to do, but just so that you've got enough information, we would have to make a decision on kids because if we go virtual, we're not transporting anyone.
That
Meaning
means
our
we're not
buses-
paying- That means we're not paying
Correct.
teachers' aides. That means we're not paying teachers' aides. That means we're not paying any teacher that is considered a full-time sub. That means that bus drivers aren't running, and we are stopping payment of our employees for 7 days. And we are potentially putting kids at risk on benchmarks.
But on
And
the
no
bus,
food either.
on the bus
You
part,
voted it.
are we still serving the meals, right?
Shouldn't.
No, we've already stopped.
No, that's what we said, we were gonna still, breakfast and
Now we
lunch.
gotta-
We'll adjust however we need to. The way that the return to school is currently set is the parents have a decision. They let us know, hey, I'm gonna be at home. Hey, I need transportation. Hey, I need food delivered to my house. And those are the metrics they're giving us for planning. We're still not gonna know until day one. So there, those flexibilities are there. The purchases of the food and the sooner we know, we get all that together. We would obviously be running to everybody's house if y'all offset. And we have the rosters for MSIS to be able to pull those. Now my question, the other thing is, if under its current structure, we have football that has been going on for 2 months, and kids have been transporting themselves. Generally what happens, no, all the time what happens, is our buses run and bring children to school and back. The way that the online solution is approved today is if you are part of that activity, whether it be band, whatever the high school activity association activity you select, you can participate in that still, but you have to provide the transportation if you're virtual. So parents that have chosen to come now know that that's a commitment they're going to have to make. If we cut buses, there may be students that can't get to those activities, and I just think it merits the conversation of that.
So add to the
kids
people
that
we're not gonna pay,
don't
we're
have-
now asking parents to bus their children or to drive their children to events that they had, if they signed up, if they're planning on signing up for face-to-face, now they will also be responsible, so they're gonna have to take off work to bring their kids back and forth to practices.
Or the kids won't be able to
Or the
participate.
kids will not be able to participate.
Now, that's not the level to say that those participations are higher than, I'm just making sure y'all have all the information that we were able to dig up.
Mr. President, you have a second, let's take this to a vote.
Yes, ma'am. You're correct. There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
It's not approved.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion or guarantee the motion that we already have passed, that school will start on the 7th of August, and that will give children the opportunity to either do face-to-face learning or virtual learning, as we already stated in the last board meeting.
Done.
1 second, just for clarity in the minutes.
I just want to make sure we're clear on what we had already passed.
Statement, not a motion.
Yes,
Just make
no,
a
no, it wasn't a
statement.
motion, I
Yeah, I
apologize.
got that's right.
I just wanted to make sure we were clear on what we were already doing.
You will have the choice of either staying at home through virtual or coming to school starting August the 7th. Where are we?
16th section lane.
Thank you. 16th section, Ms. Burke.
Actually, this is gonna be a Mayor Briggs tag team.
Okay.
Okay, we have a leasing that is wanting to get out of their lease, but they've already consulted another company to pick up the lease at the same, price. The motion, I'm asking the board to approve the current leasing to transfer its lease to, let me find the name of the company.
Swamp Donkey Properties 2.
What was that again?
Swamp Donkey's property.
I just wanted to hear you say that. How many times you gonna hear a senator use that word, right?
The current lessee, I think, is Capital City.
Yes.
Hunting
The current leasing is Capital City, Capital Hunting Club, and they want to, transfer their lease over to the Swamp Donkeys.
And they're okay with,
Same
and they're okay.
Yes, same amount.
And Swamp Donkeys won.
Yes, Swamp Donkeys want it.
I like it.
Who is the
I'd like to
swamp
make a
donkey?
motion that we transfer over the lease on the 16th land to the Swamp Donkey.
It's been moved and properly second that we transfer
You can't make
from
this
Capital City
Yeah, make this
to
stuff up.
Swamp Donkey.
That's why I had to put that letter in there so y'all can see it.
Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Request to appear before the board. We have somebody.
I know Briggs
Oh, I'm
and I
sorry.
got an update on
Mr.
the
Attorney?
bid thing.
Do we need
I
to-
make a motion that we,
Hold just a second.
Whoa.
Hold just a second.
There's another item in here, what is the Timco Acre LLC? So what there, am I, got something wrong?
What does it say on it?
It says, thank you for Timco pricing, understory control.
Yeah, there's two documents on here.
In Warren County.
You know what that is?
School board property in Rhode Island, will complete the job to the specs you sent me for $225 an acre.
Yeah.
It doesn't have an agenda item, but that's sure in there, isn't it?
Yep. It says, it's,
Oh, yeah, that's for Casey to do a, timber factory.
So do we need to amend the agenda to add, I'm doing your job.
Go ahead. What are you doing?
No, to add an L2,
I'm sorry.
which would be Timco Acre,
yeah, I make a motion that we add L2.
Oh, we gotta add it to the agenda first?
correct.
Yeah, I'm making a motion to add it to the agenda to add Timco Acre LLC item for 16th section discussion.
So that would be L2 to.
Yes, sir.
To the agenda. It's been a motion, is there a second?
I second
It's been
the
moved
motion.
and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion is approved.
I make a motion now we approve.
Hold on just a second.
We got it.
Is that our own bid?
Yes,
Okay.
and those bills will go through, the Forestry Commission.
Right.
I make a motion that we accept the Timco bid for $225 an acre.
Second.
Moved and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion is approved.
do we need to untable that other item?
Yeah, I got one other thing before that too. We, if I may, we need to add, L3 if somebody would for an easement on 16th section property.
I'll make a motion that we add item L3 to, assign an easement on 16th section.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Do we have anything else to add to the agenda? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
All right, the issue there is y'all approved, an Togo Land Company to get an easement of property. I think the number that we had in a previous meeting, I just want to make sure the minutes are clear, was $250 based on 2.5 acres. It was surveyed at 2.14 acres actually. So based on what we've traditionally done, that'd be $214 per year for the use of that easement if you already approved. So I think the minutes need to reflect that there's an approval, if you so desire, of the easement, total land, something $214 per year on 5 years.
I make the motion that we accept, or that we award or grant Togo Island Land Company an easement for the amount of $214 annually on 16th section property. We need to denote what it is, where it is.
Y'all already approved the.
We're just fixing the dollar amount.
Amendment, really the dollar amount.
I second the motion.
Been moved and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion is approved.
That was an awful good motion there, Mr. Board Member.
You have anything else, sir?
We got to bring
A couple of things, Dr. McGee, you want to do the first one, they all deal with policies, but you want to hit the first one.
Yep.
And all the second.
Do we need to add this to the agenda?
It's already on there, isn't it?
Well, one is not.
We skipped over it because we made the motion and didn't give you the chance, because technically this was on the update.
Corona.
That's correct.
But there's 3 policies that we tabled on a special call board. And they dealt with graduation,
Yep.
grading, promotion, and retention.
Yep.
And those 3 policies we have to have in place before the first day of school. And so, according to our plan, we're just gonna ask to reinstate those policies because we suspended those policies when the first shutdown happened. And we were able to adjust our grading and our graduation policies to get through that first shutdown. So now that we're back, I'm suggesting that we just reinstate the policies that we have on the books for grading, promotion, retention, and graduation. Because even if you do virtual or in person, you're still gonna be held to the same standards.
Correct.
For moving and progressing on.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was, it was not an item on the agenda, so I don't know.
It's part of district corona response?
Yes.
The first motion you'll make is a motion to return to item K1 on today's agenda.
I make a motion, we return to line item K1.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is approved.
I make a motion that we reinstate policies on grading,
Promotion.
graduation, and promotion and retention.
Yep.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved.
Mr. President, one other thing, I'm sorry, there were some policies in Mr. Superintendent's review, there were about 5, no, more than that, 7 policies
Mississippi School Board Association.
that came in today or late yesterday. These look like they may need to be approved now because they deal with issues related to coronavirus, so we made them in the agenda. I looked at them today, I've got a few minor changes to them. They deal with the items or the Family Medical Leave Act. They got an addition to include the Corona FFCRA and I need to put in the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act and the Emergency Family Medical Leave Act. There's a distance online learning. I don't think they have this. The board members have these. Yes.
Yes, they do.
Oh, you do? Okay. You've got a staff time up.
Did they get these at the special call, or was this just got, yeah, because y'all just got these from, we just got them from Mississippi School Board Association.
Yeah. So
That's those that we kept waiting on for
Right.
2 months.
We talked about it and said we had to have it.
Well,
Right.
in fairness to them, we didn't finish our session until the 1st of July. So they,
Slackers.
They, I know, terrible. They didn't get it late. So I guess if they're okay, we need to do a few things here. One is wherever they're on the agenda, we need to go back to that point. 2 is we need to get a motion to waive our municipal policy for set aside.
Yep.
To take them up immediately. And 3 is, I guess, approve them, to get that one, approve them, subject to the changes the superintendent and I will make. Technical changes need to be made to policies to conform to what we need in our district.
First, we need to suspend the rule.
I think we need to.
I think you're on the agenda item for it, though, aren't you?
Which item is?
It would be the,
K1?
uh-huh, K,
Oh, great, so we're on that.
We're already on that.
that's correct.
So make a motion to suspend the rule for waiting 30 days for approval.
Correct.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and properly second that we suspend our 30-day rule for approving a report.
Policy.
Policy. I saw report. Thank you, policy. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion is approved.
And then I make a motion that we approve these policies, GBRI, IAAA, IAAB, IJBD, JGA, JGAA, JRAB, with the technical changes and approval made by the attorney and the superintendent.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and properly second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion is approved.
Mission two, that's
Mission
Freudian slip,
completion.
Are we through now, Mr.
Potential
Now we gotta pull
litigation.
the tabled item, right?
Oh, yes, we need to
Come back to that.
go back from,
I
that's
make a motion
G3.
that we go back to the tabled item G3.
There's a second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that she made the motion and
No.
seconded.
I made second. I seconded it. She looked at me and I went second. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you. I spoke with Mr. Burke and we spoke to Dr. Ross about this. The bid did have the language that allowed y'all to split them up as necessary, that you could only award, you could award parts if you wanted to, so that's good. The difficulty was who's gonna get what part. We had a conversation, Ms. Burke and I had a conversation with her, and I think the category that we can fall on is that greens is one, and PHC is the other one, is that right?
Yes.
The greens would handle those students that are severely disabled as identified by the SPED director and the superintendent, and that PHC would handle the contract for those students that don't meet that qualification, again pursuant to determination by the SPED director and the superintendent.
Does that give us a percentage of what that would look like?
It depends how many kids you have to follow.
Like right now, is there a guess if that's 40, 60, 60?
Severely and profound, is that what it is?
According to the SPED director, we have some kids that are, you really have to work with them as far as the suction and the changing up, all of those things. And Green has a more experienced staff, more highly trained staff when it comes to those severe and profound students. So that was her leverage. They would get those students, and then PHC would get the other students that are less severe. And no, we don't have an actual percentage of who those kids are, but she has a way of determining that based on, I guess, IEPs and various things.
Okay.
So is this two contracts?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's two separate contracts.
And they're both local.
It's for the same service though.
Which is
Oh, they're
great.
both local. Cool, thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
So,
May I say something? I'm here. This is Dr. Addison Ross. Those severe profound, that population that we're talking about, that's a small percentage of kids, probably about 20 to 30% of the children.
How many?
20 or 30.
Probably about 20 to 30% of the children. That's a small populace of,
But are
not
they the
small, but
ones that currently
not large.
require the RN versus an LPN or a PCX? So in other words, most of those require an RN, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's why they'll be with Green.
Okay.
Dr. Addis Ross, may I also ask, is it worded artfully enough that we can differentiate that it's severely disabled? Is that the proper wording for you and the superintendent to make the determination as to who gets which contract or which jobs?
Lobster.
Y'all may just say it with plain votes.
Dr. Ross, do we need to change the wording to severe? Is severe worded well enough that you will be able to meet the needs with the children, you and the superintendent, between the two caregivers?
Yes, I think worded enough where we will be able to, because that would be based upon the needs, and the IEP committee would determine those needs. Those children are very dependent. We wouldn't know those children.
So does it need to say severe and profound, or is severe enough?
Severe is enough.
Thank you.
That's the only thing left.
Okay.
We'll come into this.
Okay.
So how do I make this motion?
Maybe the
am I
best
saying?
way is that the,
That we're awarding, we're
RFQ
splitting the
be
contract?
awarded that, so that Greens would, be awarded the services for the severely disabled students.
Per the-
For the IEP.
IEP and the superintendent.
PHC would have the other students.
The other special needs, sped children. I make a motion that we award the contract to Greens for the severe needs children as determined by the SPED director and the superintendent, and all of the other children would be awarded to PHC.
Can you add through their IEP that?
Through their IEP.
Second.
Been moved and proper second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion, all approved. I've lost train of
I
thought.
know,
My
it's
brain is
late.
gone. All opposed? Motion is approved, I'm sorry. I got brain dead.
He's getting hungry.
I think that's what the matter is.
He needs a
Do we have anything else,
Can we have
Mr.
a
Attorney?
Do we have potential litigation? All right.
No, I mean, I'd be happy if y'all feel like you need me to discuss it with you, but I didn't think they needed to stay for it. That's,
So we don't need to go into an executive session? I make a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Good job, y'all.